Chapter 3558. Mu frowned slightly. Her expression wasn't very good. But even if the situation was a bit tricky, she had to stay calm. She didn't give the order for no reason. Where could Qin Xiu have gone? How did Annie disappear? Song Xiaoling frowned and said worriedly, "Where did Qin go? The light in her room wasn't turned on yesterday. Didn't she come back?" Mu Er's heart sank when she heard this. She had a very uncomfortable feeling. She had been using so much effort to leave a perfect impression in front of Song Xiaoling. But now, Qin Xiu's disappearance had covered her with a layer of stain. Song Xiaoling's 2 consecutive questions with a reproachful tone made her feel uncomfortable. Qin's illness needs treatment. I'll let her stay at the clinic. It'll be easier to apply the medicine this way. Mu Er's voice was slightly soft and weak. Song Xiaoling lowered his eyes. "But Auntie, I came here not long ago to pay my respects to Auntie," Mu said. "I don't know why it's like this." Song Xiaoling looked at her, and his face sank slightly. After all, Qin wasn't in the manor, and Qin Xiu was missing. He couldn't explain it to her. "Master Song, don't worry." Mu pursed her lips. "I'll send people to search carefully. Every exit of the Mu Manor is guarded. Annie should still be in the manor." "That's true." Song Xiaoling's brows moved slightly. "I was too anxious. Miss Mu, please don't take it to heart." For a moment just now, he actually suspected Mu He didn't know why he had this feeling, but it was very strong. Mu wouldn't do anything to harm others. She was so good and kind. Whether it was him, Qin, or Qin's auntie and brother, Mu treated them with sincerity. Song Xiaoling felt that he couldn't think like this because it was biting the hand that fed him. Ninger knows Master Song is anxious. Mu frowned slightly. "Why don't we go to the He family's clinic and ask Sister Qinshan to come back? If she still needs a doctor, we can just invite the doctor to our home." "No need." Song Xiaoling shook his head and said, "Just let her stay in the clinic. After all, we've already caused trouble for Miss Mu. If we still do this, we'll be troubling Miss Mu even more." He was already living under someone else's roof, so he knew his place. Mu froze. Song Xiaoling's words were like an icicle, piercing deep into her heart. She treated him so well, but Song Xiaoling still drew a clear line between them. At that time, Mu didn't know that she only needed to work hard for a few more years to win Song Xiaoling's heart. Unfortunately, it wasn't time yet. At that time, Song Xiaoling had just started to have a good impression of her. Then because of this matter, there was a grudge between them. No, it wasn't just the 2 of them. It was Song Xiaoling who had a grudge against Mu and Mu who was also the one who suffered. The corner of her mouth twitched slightly, revealing an awkward smile. "Master, you're too polite. I'll do my best to find Sister Qinshun and Annie. Then I'll have to trouble you, Miss Mu." Mu never thought that Annie was just a puppet that died slowly in her eyes. Today, she became an obstacle between her and Song Xiaoling. Chapter 3559. Where the hell did this old woman go? If she found her, all her plans would have to be changed. After all, after this incident, she suddenly felt that Luo Qingshan's family would be her biggest obstacle in this world. Actually, she used to think so too. However, all the plans were under her control. She had all the time to play them in the palm of her hand. But now, why did she have a special feeling of panic in her heart? She couldn't help but think of the way Luo Qingshan stood in front of her yesterday. Although she was wearing a veil due to her illness, her phoenix eyes gave off a very cold feeling. Why did she have such a feeling? Did she see it wrongly? In the evening, Mu sent people to search the entire Mu Manor. Not even half of Qin Xiu's shadow was found. She was indeed missing. Perhaps it wasn't so strange. She was indeed not in Mu Manor anymore. As for where she went, why did she disappear? Why did she disappear? No one knew. Mu knew very well that if she didn't do anything now, she would completely destroy Song Xiaoling's impression of her. No, she should be perfect. She couldn't have any imperfections. Thinking of this, she gritted her teeth. Her feet tilted, and she fell into the water with a plop. Oh no, oh no. The young miss fell into the water. Quick, quick, quick. Save the young miss. Mu Manor was in an uproar. Actually, Mu was good at swimming, but she had to drown at that time. Because only by drowning could she maintain her perfect image in Song Xiaoling's heart. She was stubborn. She was stubborn regardless of everything. As long as she could achieve her goal, all sacrifices were worth it. Perhaps it was because of God's mercy, Mu Er's act of drowning was very successful. Because in the end, Song Xiaoling jumped into the water himself and saved her. Miss Mu, how are you? Open your eyes and look at me. At that time, Mu it was actually still awake. After all, she was good at swimming, so it wasn't easy for her to drown. But she was waiting for Song Xiaoling to say something gentle to her. Young Master Song, Tao Zi interrupted, everything that our young mistress has done is for your sake. It was clearly Chun Xiu himself who went missing, but he pushed the blame to my family's young miss, causing her to be uneasy and accidentally fall into the water. Song Xiaoling sighed deeply and said to Mu it's my fault. I shouldn't have doubted you. Miss Mu treats the three of us so well, but Ahem. Mo Mu coughed twice and said Song Gongzi. Miss Mu, you don't have to call me that. Just call me Xiaoling. Looking at her pale face, Song Xiaoling could not bear to see her like this. If it had not been for his scolding during the day, she would not have fallen into the water. In the end, he couldn't shirk this responsibility. Xiaoling, can you call me Ning from now on? Mu smiled faintly as she looked deeply at Song Xiaoling. Although there was a small interlude between her and Song Xiaoling because of this inexplicable matter, the ending was still beautiful. Okay, Song Xiaoling saw the deep affection in Mu Er's eyes and looked away in embarrassment. I'll bring you back to the room first and get a doctor to take a look. It'll be bad if you catch a cold. I'll do as you say. Mu blinked and fell asleep in Song Xiaoling's arms. Chapter 3560. Her embrace was so warm. This kind of embrace would always belong to her alone. She would never, ever share it with anyone else. At the same time, he Clan's clinic. Chun Sheng told her everything that he had heard earlier in detail. Seeing Luo Qingchen's indifferent expression, Chun Sheng hurriedly said, Boss, don't worry. Mu is very powerful. It's understandable that Master Song was bewitched by her. Luo Qingchen chuckled. You mean you were bewitched by her too? Chun Sheng blinked. Everyone loves beauty. Mu is indeed a beauty. It's normal for me to be bewitched by her. You're short-sighted. Luo Qingchen's brows twitched. How can she be considered a beauty? This, also, whether Song Xiaoling likes her or not has nothing to do with me. Luo Qingchen lowered her eyes and continued. I was just thinking that Mu is very smart. She used this trick perfectly. The last person Chun Xiu saw before he went missing was her. Although there was no evidence to prove that she had anything to do with Chun Xiu's disappearance, Song Xiaoling couldn't help but suspect her. At that time, Song Xiaoling hadn't completely given his heart to her yet. His brain was still functioning normally. It was normal for him to suspect Mu However, Mu Er's trick completely turned her into a victim. A kind-hearted young miss who accidentally fell into the water to help find her concubine. Then what do we do? Chun Sheng looked at Luo Qingchen with a fawning expression. Boss, if you say so, then our plan wasn't for nothing. I never thought that I could defeat Mu every time. Luo Qingchen sneered. She's a very smart person. She's not the kind of person who's bad on the surface. You said that if it's a coincidence the first time, then if it's a coincidence the second time, can it still be a coincidence? Luo Qingchen felt that she'd made it clear, but Chun Sheng still looked at her in confusion. You should go to bed early. But tonight, she didn't sleep well. It wasn't because of the battle of wits between her and Mu that troubled her. It was because there were a few uninvited guests at Clan's clinic. The young man in the lead, who was dressed in a dark green robe, fell into a pool of blood. Death's attendant, who had his hand cut off, said, Doctor, please save my family's grand young master. He is seriously injured. Luo Qingchen slowly came forward, and her heart skipped a beat when she saw the youth's face. Although she was sure that she had never seen this face before, she knew that the person in front of her was Jian Yuan. 1,000 years of being together was something that could be seen through with a single glance. Luo Qing Chun suddenly squatted down and took his pulse. He's poisoned. Although the injuries on his body were not serious, the reason why his face was pale and his eyes were tightly shut was because he was poisoned. She had seen this kind of poison in a previous plane. Boss, just take his pulse. Why are you blushing? Chun Sheng looked at her and said, if you can save him, then save him. If you can't, then let them go. Doctor, I can save him. Luo Qingshun was already dressed in men's clothes. She waved her fan and said, prepare a room. Also, prepare a bucket of water. The water must be hot. The next second, Hiao stroked his beard and said, this person's pulse is very strange. Goo. Young master, did you really find out what poison it is? Chapter 3561. Luo Qingchen nodded. Do as I say. Because of the boiling water in the first classroom, the room was filled with a thin layer of mist. Put down the medicine box, and you can all leave. Luo Qingchen said to Chun Sheng, you and the others guard outside the door. Don't let anyone come in and disturb us. Yes, boss. As for old, Luo Qingchen looked at Hiao. You bandage the other person's wound, then give him a set of coachman's clothes and follow behind you to get the medicine. Why? Do we need to get the medicine? Chun Sheng looked at Luo Qingchen with a confused face. Our clinic doesn't have any customers tonight. You really are stupid. Luo Qingchen narrowed her eyes. These two people are covered in wounds. Plus, one of them looked like he was being chased. The people chasing them will be here soon. Hiss, Chun Sheng sucked in a cold breath. Then what do we do? Boss, I believe you can beat them. After all, Luo Qingchen was like a god in Chun Sheng's heart. I can. Luo Qingchen gave a shrug with a fearless look, but I don't know if you'll still be alive. After all, I only care if they die, not if you live. In an instant, Chun Sheng swallowed his saliva and said, Boss, don't worry, I will protect them. Okay. After everything was arranged, Luo Qingchen used her hand to test the temperature of the water. She sprinkled the powder and carefully put Jian Yuheng in her hand. She saw his beautiful eyebrows slightly knit. His angular face was unusually handsome, and his long eyelashes were especially charming. Even if he didn't open his eyes, she knew he was born with a bewitching face. She took a deep breath and touched her burning ear with her left hand. Her right hand immediately inserted a silver needle into the acupuncture point on Jian Yuheng's back. The poison in his body was called the 7 Meridians powder. After being poisoned, the 6 important acupuncture points in his body would be sealed. His brain would start to produce all kinds of uncontrollable behavior. To put it bluntly, confusion. Love powder. Originally, this poison could only be cured by intercourse between a man and a woman. But at that time, she felt that this method of detoxification was a little inhumane. In the days that followed, he did some research on the feeling of buying and selling by force. Finally, he decided to use acupuncture to detoxify the poison. Bang, bang, bang. There was a fierce knock on the door downstairs. At that time, Luo Qingchen had inserted the 6th needle. According to reason, Jian Yuheng should wake up after the 7th needle. I should be able to make it in time if I leave through the window. Lock all the front and back doors. Don't even let fly out. The voice of the leader downstairs was very loud. Luo Qingchen unconsciously frowned. She calmed herself down and began to search for the 7th acupuncture point. Heroes, this is a medical clinic. How could we possibly hide anyone? Hiao said. The 2 of them are seriously injured. Tell me, if they don't go to the clinic, where else can they go? The leader said, if they are really here, I advise you to call them out as soon as possible. Otherwise, you will have to bear the consequences. Hiao's back was drenched in cold sweat. Wang Xiu walked up to the 2nd floor with his hands behind his back. The footsteps were getting closer and closer. Luo Qingchen's frown became tighter and tighter. Open the door, Wang Xiu said. If you don't open the door, don't blame me for using force. Who are you? This is our family's young Mrs. Boudoir. It's not good for you men to barge in. In my eyes, women and men are the same. Wang Xiu pulled out his sword and said, "I'll say it again. Get out of the way." Chapter 3562. Luo Qingchen narrowed her eyes slightly, and her right hand that was holding the silver needle trembled slightly. It was the most critical moment now. If someone disturbed him, not only would all his previous efforts be wasted, but his life would also be in danger. Just as Luo Qingchen was hesitating, Jian Yuheng's warm palm suddenly grabbed her wrist. He opened his eyes slightly and said, "Go quickly." In a flash, Luo Qingchen inserted the silver needle into Jian Yuheng's Baoyi point. The other party frowned, and his fingertips that were holding Jian Yuheng's wrist slowly turned white. Bang! At this time, Wang Xiu ignored Chen Sheng's obstruction and directly broke through the door. Luo Qingchen pressed Jian Yuheng's head under the water without saying a word. Then, with a flick of her right hand, she took off her clothes and jumped into the water. Green smoke curled up, and the whole room was filled with a faint fragrance of pear blossoms. "Where did you come from? How dare you peep at a girl taking a bath?" Luo Qingchen's gauze draped over her shoulders as a cold glow flashed in her eyes. Wang Xiu immediately looked away and cupped his hands. "Miss, I'm sorry. I'm just—" In an instant, his eyes were suddenly attracted by the pattern on Luo Qingchen's right shoulder. It was a bright red phoenix tail flower. That was the symbol of the Yuan Kingdom's royal family. Bang! Luo Qingchen threw the iron basin at Wang Xiu. "You still want to explain? Where are your eyes looking?" Wang Xiu staggered back 2 steps, bowed his head, and cupped his hands. "We'll leave now. I'm sorry for offending, miss. Get out." The next second, Wang Xiu and his subordinates left the room in a panic. He wouldn't be wrong about the phoenix tail flower. The girl in the room was the little princess of Yuan Kingdom. Seeing this, Chen Sheng hurriedly closed the door and said, "I told you not to enter. The girl is taking a bath inside. Do you think she will lose her innocence for the man you're talking about?" "Yes, I was reckless." Wang Xiu's tone instantly became more respectful. Jian Yuheng must be killed, but the princess was more important. Yuan Kingdom had been guarding the southern territory for so many years because the king had not been restored. The princess had been wandering outside for many years, and no one had been able to find her. Now, although he couldn't kill the crown prince of Jian country, if he could find the princess, this trip wouldn't be in vain. After walking out of the inn, Wang Xiu narrowed his eyes and ordered, "You guys keep an eye on this clinic for me these days and report to me if anything happens." "Yes, Master Ball." The subordinate asked, "Where is Master Ball going?" "I need to return to Yuan and have His Highness personally verify the princess's identity." Since ancient times, Yuan had always respected women. However, the previous empress had fallen in love with a man with no status. In Yuan Kingdom, not only would such a man be executed, if the empress was pregnant, the boy would be executed and the girl would never be able to see her parents. But this empress set up a trap and eloped with a man. Up until now, no one had ever seen that woman. However, the blood of the empress was extremely precious. The divinator of Yuan Kingdom predicted that the empress would give birth to a daughter. Yuan Kingdom had been searching for this so-called daughter for many years, but to no avail. Everyone only knew that all the empresses of Yuan Kingdom had a phoenix tail flower mark on their right shoulder. Now, Yuan Kingdom had a divinator in charge. His name was Shi Mu. Everyone called him His Highness. In the room, Luo Qingchen had changed into clean clothes and walked out from behind the screen. Jian Yuheng lowered his gaze, and his ears were red. He cupped his hands and said, "Miss, thank you for saving my life." Chapter 3563. Ding, affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 10%. Oh, young master, you have to think carefully about your next words. Luo Qingchen had changed into a lotus green immortal dress, and her long hair was still a bit wet. But looking at it like this, she looked very charming. "After all, I have saved your life." Jian Yuheng was a bit stunned. When he suddenly nodded, he was a bit stunned. What kind of peerlessly beautiful face was that? Her skin was as white as snow, and her phoenix eyes were clear and bright like the stars in the sky. It was unknown what she thought of, but she revealed an excited smile to him. Her eyes curved like crescent moons, and it was as if her spirit was overflowing. With every frown and smile, a noble look was naturally revealed. It made people marvel at her elegant and beautiful aura. "Does this miss have anything you want?" After 3 seconds, Jian Yuheng came back to his senses and said, "This one will do his best to help this miss." He was the crown prince of the Jian country. He had seen countless beauties since he was young, but there was not a single one that could enter his eyes. But at that moment, he was stunned by the face in front of him, and he was almost at a loss. No, it should be said, he was already at a loss. When she pressed him to the bottom of the barrel to hold his breath, he had been suffocating several times. This kind of situation had never happened before. "What I want." Luo Qingchun gently fanned herself and said, "I haven't thought of it yet. How about when I think of it, I'll ask young master for it?" Jian Yuheng looked at her face, and his heart skipped a beat. He said in a low voice, "This miss is right. Since it is a life-saving grace, I will use the most precious thing in my life to exchange for it." Jian Yuheng suddenly became this serious, making her a bit speechless. "The most precious thing? And what is that?" "My life." Ding! Affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 20%. At that moment, Luo Qingchun suddenly understood Jian Yuheng's personality. Why do I feel like this person is a little paranoid? Why would he suddenly put his life in danger? Why would I want your life? Luo Qingchun's eyebrows moved slightly. "If I wanted your life, I wouldn't have saved you just now." Miss, you're right." The corners of Jian Yuheng's mouth curled into a different smile as he said, "Then we can only change the method." "Oh, young master, have you thought it through?" "Yes." Jian Yuheng looked at her attentively. "Miss is my savior, but I have affected your chastity." Jian Yuheng was very serious. His eyes were serious, and his tone was even more serious. But at this moment, Luo Qingchun felt like she had fallen into an unknown trap, and this trap was so natural. Why don't I give you my body?" I knew it. Why did she have a premonition a second before Jian Yuheng said that? She had a premonition that he would set a trap for her, and she even had a premonition that he would say this. "Young master, your method of repayment is very special." Luo Qingchun's lips curled into a faint smile. "I don't know why you're being chased like this, but why do you think I'm willing to let you give your body to me? This doesn't seem like a good deal for me." Actually, his identity didn't matter to Luo Qingchun. She just wanted to know what he was doing. Not only was he being chased, he was also being chased after by someone who poisoned him. When Luo Qingchun said this, Jian Yuheng's eyes slightly dimmed. Right now, there were many people in the court that wanted his life. If she really did it with him, wouldn't she be in danger? Chapter 3564. But why didn't he think of this reason just now? Was it because of the throbbing in his heart that made him lose the ability to think? "Miss, your words make sense. Young master is giving up?" "Of course not." Jian Yuheng frowned slightly. "Actually, this injury was an accident. I didn't think that second brother would collude with the people of Yuan Kingdom and sacrifice 50,000 soldiers." "Wait." Luo Qingchun gently bit her lips as her mind spun quickly. This was the Jian Kingdom, and the male lead was called Jian Yuheng. "So, you are from the imperial court." Luo Qingchun blinked. "You are a prince?" Jian Yuheng was stunned for a moment as his eyes flashed with surprise. He looked at her and asked, "How did you know?" "This is the Jian family's world. Your name is Jian Yuheng, so you are naturally a member of the imperial family." After saying this, Luo Qingchun was stunned. Her eyes trembled, then trembled again. Jian Yuheng's eyes were filled with doubt as he faintly asked, "How did you know that my name is Jian Yuheng?" He was very sure that today was the first time he met the woman in front of him. After all, he had never seen such a devastatingly beautiful face before. But how did she know that he was Jian Yuheng? Luo Qingchun's eyebrows trembled slightly. She couldn't say that she looked at the information on the bronze panel and deduced it, even if she wanted to say it. He might not believe her. "Miss, you don't need to be so conflicted." Jian Yuheng narrowed his eyes and said with a gentle gaze, "I will believe whatever you say." He didn't know what was wrong with him. Logically speaking, if he suddenly found that the person in front of him was evasive, he would definitely be suspicious of her. But right now, not only did he not have any doubts about the woman in front of him, he even believed the words that she hadn't said yet. Jian Yuheng had never been like this before. PFFF, Luo Qingxun chuckled. If I said that I had a premonition, would young Master Jian believe me? She knew that he wasn't joking because those deep eyes were filled with seriousness. I do. Jian Yuheng looked at her and said, So did you know my identity in the dream? Luo Qingxun looked at his dark green clothes and said, Could it be that you're the rumored most handsome crown prince of the Jian dynasty? Where did you hear the phrase most handsome and dashing from? I saw it with my own eyes. So are you ready to become a crown princess? Ding! Affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 30%. Rest well tonight. Her eyes trembled slightly as she shifted her attention. If there's anything else, we can talk about it tomorrow. The next morning, Jian Yuheng left a letter and left. The content of the letter was very simple. I think you might not like the title of Crown Princess, so you should be called something else. Jian Yuheng. Luo Qingxun changed into men's clothes. While reading the letter, she would occasionally reveal a woman's posture. Jian Yuheng might not just be paranoid, but his ability to seduce people was not shallow. However, the person who came to the clinic yesterday was not a good person. He could clearly feel that the other party was lingering around the clinic. Boss, did the assassin from yesterday leave? See, assassin? Luo Qingxun looked at Chun Sheng with a doubtful look. Who told you that they were assassins? If they weren't assassins, why would they be chased? Could it be that they were evil people in Jianghu? Chapter 3565. Vicious and evil? Luo Qingxun thought about it and found that these words were indeed quite suitable for him. Because less than half a day after he left the palace, the news of the second prince's sudden death came from the palace. Why did he suddenly die? Why did he suddenly die? No one knew. They only knew that it seemed to be related to witchcraft. On the other hand, Luo Qingxun's own plan was also proceeding in an orderly manner. Yao told her that concubine Chun Xiu's body had accumulated some poison. Fortunately, it was discovered in time. Now, as long as she recuperated for a year and a half, she would be cured. If it was discovered a few months later, there would be no way to save the situation. Qing, concubine Chun doesn't understand why we don't live in Moon Manor anymore. Chun Xiu was a little worried. What about Hao Tian? Don't worry, Hao Tian will come with us soon. Luo Qingxun thought for a moment. This matter is a bit complicated. I'll explain it to concubine Chen later. Now, we're going to set the second scene. Luo Qingxun didn't explain more, but looked at Chun Sheng and said, Mu Ning will go to the private school every 7 days. On the surface, it's to see Hao Tian, but in fact, every time she goes, Hao Tian will be more miserable. Not only will they take away the food she brings for Hao Tian, but they will also take the opportunity to bully her. On the surface, the gentle and kind Mu Ning doesn't know about this. In other people's eyes, Mu Ning is very good to Hao Tian. Even if Hao Tian dies in the end, it has nothing to do with Mu Ning. Mu Ning is really good to him. It's just that he has a bad life. Wow, boss is really the boss. You even know this. Chun Sheng's face is full of admiration. The more he follows Luo Qingxun, the more he can see her different from ordinary people. It seems that no matter what kind of tricky thing, she can have a very detailed plan. No matter what kind of situation, she can turn danger into safety. The plan is still the same. After she leaves, take Hao Tian with her. Okay, yesterday, she used falling into the water to regain her position in Song Xiaoling's heart. She doesn't know what method she will use today. After all, in the eyes of the Mu family, Chun Xiu's matter may not be hidden from her. On the surface, she said she didn't want Song Xiaoling to worry, but in reality, she just didn't want Song Xiaoling to pity her. She tried every possible means to occupy a place in Song Xiaoling's heart. Finally, there was a slight improvement. Finally, all the plans were in progress. Wouldn't it be wonderful if he struck her again at this time? Chun Sheng was quite capable in abducting people. Everything went smoothly. Of course, the biggest reason was that Mu Ning never suspected Chen Sheng and the other two. This made Chen Sheng very happy when Luo Qingshun gave him the mission. Hey, don't you feel like you're betraying the original owner? No, I don't know why, but I feel great. Boss, I brought this kid back for you. What's the next mission for us three brothers? Luo Qingshun took Hao Tian's hand and said with a smile, You've done so much foreshadowing. Don't you want to see the result? The result? Luo Qingshun curled her lips into a smile. You don't know why your previous master targeted me. Of course, it's because of Song Darren. Chen Sheng thought for a moment. But she's not only against you, boss. It's just that she's against you. Ruthless? Yes. Since you call me boss, I'll let you see the difference between your original owner and your current owner. Who doesn't know how to play the pig to eat the tiger? Chapter 3566. At this time, the Mu clan was in a complete mess. Two living people disappeared one after another, and before they disappeared, the last person they saw was Mu Ning-er. She was wearing a light shirt, and in the snow, her face was particularly pale. What's going on? Song Xiaoling's tone was full of blame. He frowned slightly. Why didn't we find Annie Chun? And even Hao Yin disappeared. I really don't know. Mu Ning gritted her teeth, her eyes flashing with coldness. Everyone knows how I treat little sister Qingchen. If you don't believe me, I can't do anything about it. She turned around, her eyes full of tears, but deep in her heart, there was a deep coldness. Who was behind this? If the first time was a coincidence, then the second time was definitely not a coincidence. Although she hoped that Luo Qingshun and the other two burdens would die soon, she wouldn't use such a stupid method. Wouldn't that be completely exposing herself? Song Xiaoling's expression was very difficult. After all, the Mu clan took them in, so he couldn't suspect Mu Ning-er. But Annie Chun and Hao Yin's disappearance was too strange. If it wasn't the Mu clan's doing, who would deliberately take them away? Fine. Mu Ning-er retreated in order to advance. Since you don't trust me so much, you should report it to the authorities. Let the authorities thoroughly investigate this matter and see who took Annie Chun and Hao Yin. In the next second, Luo Qingchen's trembling voice slowly came. What did you say? What happened to Annie Chun and Hao Yin? She had changed into her usual clothes. Her feet were full of pockmarks, and she was wearing a veil. Song Xiaoling frowned slightly and hurried over to look at her. What happened to you? How did you become like this? He still cared about her. After all, in the past 5 years, they had been together day and night, and they were happy together. But after coming to the Mu clan, their feelings gradually faded. After all, he was Mu Ning-er's fiancé, so he couldn't be close to other women. In addition, Mu Ning-er was really good to the three of them, and he saw it. But now, he felt that no matter which side he stood on, it was wrong. He had a feeling that he was neither a man nor a woman. I'm sick. Luo Qingshun slowly raised her eyes filled with tears. But that's not important. What's important is where did Yin Yang and Hao Yin go? Chen Sheng, who was lying on a roof and peeking, subconsciously raised his thumb and muttered, Interesting. Qingchen, do you trust me? Mu Ning-er grabbed her wrist and said, Although I don't know who took Annie Chun and Hao Yin, I will definitely help you find them. Of course I believe Miss Mu, but leave it to me. Go to the clinic and recover, said Mu Ning-er. Leave everything to me. Who on earth would want to harm us? I don't know. Perhaps it's just a coincidence, but it's clear that the other party is rather familiar with Mu clan. When she said this, a haze flashed across her eyes. Luo Qingchen knew that this was the real Mu Ning, that smart, ruthless, and decisive Mu Ning-er. Qingchen. After a while, Song Xiaoling looked at her with concern. Leave this matter to us. Your face, it's better to treat it properly. I think it's quite serious. He felt sorry for Luo Qingchen, but not because of the fear he felt when he vaguely saw her face through the veil. It was probably because Mu Ning was too beautiful that the scales in his heart swayed unconsciously. Chapter 3567. Luo Qingchen looked at Song Xiaoling's eyes and suddenly felt that it was ridiculous. Some people love deeply. Some people love stubbornly. Song Xiaoling's love made her feel a little lost. She didn't know how to put it. Perhaps there was a scale in his heart, But this scale was unstable and couldn't fully express his inner thoughts. He looked at Luo Qingchun with concern, and he also looked at Mu Ning with concern. But this so-called concern was not as good as how he treated her. Yes, he treated her the best. I understand. Luo Qingchun narrowed her eyes and said, Xiaoling, I believe you. We spent so much time together. Can I believe you? Luo Qingchun could feel Mu Ning's face turn green when she said this. She had worked so hard to get to where she was in Song Xiaoling's heart today. She couldn't let it be ruined by two unrelated people. Yes, trust me. Song Xiaoling patted her head and said, Leave everything to me. At this moment, looking at Luo Qingchun with tears in her eyes, Song Xiaoling's heart ached. For so many years, whether rich or poor, sad or happy, she was always by his side. He should have protected her from harm. How could he lose the two most important family members in her life? How could he feel at ease marrying Mu Ning? Or like this, Luo Qingchun looked at Song Xiaoling's conflicted expression and thought that she had achieved her goal. Whether or not this matter had anything to do with Mu Ning, Song Xiaoling had a grudge against Mu Ning, she looked at Mu Ning's suppressed expression and knew that she had succeeded. However, this was only the beginning. Mu Ning couldn't find Qin Xiu and Hao Tian in a short period of time. She would only become more and more anxious. What did she do? She also wanted to know. Perhaps Luo Qingchun's appearance was for revenge. Mu Ning was busy for 3 days. She almost turned the entire capital upside down, but still couldn't find Qin Xiu and Hao Tian's whereabouts. Io, please, if she sent Chen Sheng to look for him, how could he possibly find him? However, not being able to find the two of them was still a small matter to old Master Mu. As for the big matter regarding the Mu family, it was that the second prince, Jian Yulan, suddenly fell seriously ill and died in the middle of the night. Grandpa Mu almost fainted when he heard the news. Everyone in the imperial court knew about the relationship between the second prince, Jian Yulan, and the minister of rights, Mu Guan. Mu Guan could be said to be the second prince's teacher. Once the second prince died, the Mu family's position in the imperial court plummeted. When Luo Qingchun heard this news, she was still in the He family's clinic, taking people's pulse. The patient in front of him seemed a little flustered, probably because he had been thinking for a long time. Doctor, you've been taking my pulse for so long without saying anything. Could it be that I have an incurable disease? Luo Qingchun stared blankly for a moment before she came back to her senses and said, Don't worry, you just caught a cold. I'll prescribe some medicine for you to take when you go back. You'll recover in 3 or 4 days. Thank you, doctor. You're welcome. Next. When the next patient sat down, Luo Qingchun could clearly feel that his aura was different from the others. This aura was familiar yet strange. She was about to look up when the other party's cold voice sounded, I haven't seen you for a few days. Did Miss Luo miss me? She nodded slightly, and what came into view was indeed that familiar face. Chapter 3568. Why are you here? Luo Qingchun pretended to take his pulse as she said in a low voice, I heard that something happened to the second prince. Shouldn't you be in the palace right now? I should be in the palace. Jian Yuheng slightly raised his brows, but I couldn't resist the pain of missing you. Ding, affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 40%. Saying words of love and increasing affection, it was quite interesting. But 40% affection, it wasn't just because of the word missing that he left the palace in such a special situation. Although Jian Yuheng's words of love were quite good, his slightly deep eyes betrayed him. Can't a straightforward person like us speak frankly? Luo Qingchun's right hand gently touched her cheek. Young Master Jian can speak directly if you have something to say. Qingchun, come with me to the palace. Without knowing why, when Jian Yuheng called her name like this, her heart skipped a beat. She actually felt that the other side's tone was very affectionate. She thought about it later and felt that it was because her name sounded good that she had this kind of misconception. Luo Qingchun wanted to ask more, but seeing Jian Yuheng's anxious expression, she didn't ask anymore. When they got into a sedan, he finally said, Royal father has been poisoned by a very strange poison. and the imperial doctors can't do anything about it. When you gave me acupuncture that day, I felt that your medical skills surpassed many people. On Humph, I know a bit. Luo Qingshun was a bit humble before saying, "Before treating the emperor, I have 2 questions to ask your highness." Since they were in the sedan, she was very clear on what kind of status Jian Yuheng had. The crown prince of the Eastern Palace. It was no wonder people wanted to kill him. Ask. He didn't find it strange that Luo Qingshun knew his identity at all. After all, the people he admired, were all smart people. The second prince's sudden death last night. Is it related to your highness? Yes. Jian Yuheng responded almost instantly without any hesitation. This kind of response speed made Luo Qingshun feel strangely moved. Did he really trust her that much? Then the second question. Luo Qingshun paused and said, "You let me enter the palace this time. Do you want His Majesty to live or His Majesty to die?" Silence, silence, silence. There was silence in the carriage. Probably because Luo Qingshun's question was too sharp, it caused the atmosphere to become a little strange. But the truth was, Jian Yuheng was amazed by her intelligence, which was why he was stunned. Give birth. Then I don't understand. Luo Qingshun's brows moved slightly. Could it be that the crown prince doesn't want the throne? He killed my brother because he wanted to kill me. Jian Yuheng looked at her and said, "Imperial father originally intended to pass the throne to me, but what? You will know when we reach Yangxin Palace Hall." The royal palace was indeed different from other places. Ancient trees towered into the sky, and the green trees provided shade. The red walls and yellow tiles were dazzling, and it gave people a feeling of grandeur. Jian Yuheng kneeled down and said, "Your son has brought the divine doctor back to the palace. This commoner greets the emperor." Luo Qingshun kneeled down. "Cuckoo." The emperor gave 2 soft coughs and said, "You're dressed like a man. Do you think this one is old and confused? This commoner doesn't dare." Luo Qingshun calmly replied, "When the crown prince came looking for this commoner knew that it was related to the emperor's body. The situation was urgent, so I didn't change my clothes." Ding! Affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 50%. Chapter 3569. For a long time, the surroundings fell into silence. Jian Yuheng didn't feel anxious at all because he saw the appreciation in Prince Jian's eyes. Father and son always had a telepathic connection. Jian Yuheng didn't need to say anything to know everything from his father's eyes. "I understand. Come and take my pulse." Jian Yuheng didn't lie to her. Prince Jian's illness was indeed a bit complicated. However, it was the same as when Jian Yuheng was poisoned. The only difference was that Prince Jian had accumulated blood in his heart because he worried about the country and the people for many years. In addition, the sudden death of the second prince caused his blood to flow in reverse. This situation caused Prince Jian to suddenly faint and his breath to become weak. Acupuncture was indeed the only way, and there weren't many people who would use acupuncture at this time. It was normal that the imperial physicians couldn't treat him. "Ask the servants to bring me a basin of hot water. The hot water will continue to flow for 3 hours." Luo Qingshun responded with a salute. "Your Majesty's illness isn't serious. After I perform the acupuncture, your heart won't feel blocked and you can sleep well tonight." "How do you know that I can't sleep well every night?" Prince Jian's face showed appreciation. Jian Yuheng, who was standing at the side, looked particularly happy. "Qi coagulation and blood stasis. The heart is blocked and panicked." Luo Qingshun chuckled. "Rest assured, Your Majesty. This commoner will definitely make Your Majesty recover." She was naturally confident in her medical skills, not to mention that Prince Jian's illness wasn't serious. 3 hours later, Prince Jian's originally sallow face became particularly rosy and looked much more energetic. "You can all leave." Prince Jian waved his hand. "The crown prince stays." "Yes," everyone said. Jian Yuheng glanced at the attendant. After he left, he immediately said in Luo Qingshun's ear, "Miss Luo, please come with me." "Where are we going?" "The East Palace." Luo Qingshun still had some doubts in her heart. For example, if Jian Yuheng didn't want to kill Prince Jian, there was no need for him to let her enter the palace. Although Prince Jian's illness was a bit difficult to endure, his life was definitely not in danger in the short term. Why did he insist on letting her show off in front of Prince Jian? At present, Jian Yuheng had not returned yet, and she was a very curious person. She always felt that if she did not ask clearly, she would feel uncomfortable. "Hey, what's his name?" Replying to Miss, "My name is Chung." "Is it his confidant?" Chung Yi was stunned for a moment before he immediately replied, "Yes." "Everyone, why did Your Highness the Crown Prince ask me to enter the palace?" Chung Yi hesitated for a moment, and his eyes flickered slightly. Luo Qingqin knew that he was hiding something from her. Silence won't solve the problem. "If you don't tell me, I won't go to the Eastern Palace." She used her aggressive skill and said. Chung Yi's face changed. He jumped out of the car in panic and immediately said, "Miss Luo, why do you have to make things difficult for subordinate? Subordinate? I'm not in a difficult position, okay? I'm just curious. It's an old habit." Luo Qingshun leaned on the sedan chair and said leisurely, "Don't worry and tell me. I will never tell him that you told me." "Subordinate. Moreover, you've been with the Crown Prince for so many years. He won't make things difficult for you." Luo Qingqin's eyebrows moved slightly. "But I'm different. I'm a person with a lot of thoughts, and I especially like to make things difficult for people who offended me before." "Subordinate doesn't dare." Chung Yi's forehead had a little bit of sweat, and he immediately said, "Subordinate will tell you everything I know." "Then let's start talking." Chapter 3570. Luo Qingshun gave him half an hour to explain himself. Chung Yi's explanation was quite clear. After listening to him, she felt quite satisfied. Jian Yuheng had always been Prince Jian's favorite candidate to succeed the throne. However, since he became the crown prince, he did not marry any of the crown princess or concubines. This caused the East Palace to be empty. For a long time, everyone thought that the crown prince was not good in some aspects or had a mental problem, so he did not marry. However, this was not the case. It was just that for so many years, no one could enter Jian Yuheng's eyes. He was a picky person since he was born. He wanted to do everything well, not to mention the person who would accompany him for a lifetime. Either he did not have her and would be alone for a lifetime, or he had her and would accompany him for a lifetime. He always felt that the crown princess in his life was not missed, but had not appeared yet. He could wait. However, Prince Jian could not wait. The older he got, the more worried he was about the crown prince's future progeny. Therefore, it gave the second prince an opportunity to send someone to seriously injure Jian Yuheng. In fact, Jian Yuheng knew about this matter long ago. However, he was seriously injured because he wanted to protect the innocent people. However, all of this was worth it for him, because he finally found the crown princess that he liked. So, he asked me to enter the palace to treat the emperor's illness, just to let the emperor see his future daughter-in-law. Luo Qingshun rested her chin on her right hand and said, "He went through so much trouble because of my identity. Miss Luo is really smart." Chung Yi continued, "Miss Luo is an ordinary woman with no identity. Logically speaking, you can't marry into the palace and become the crown princess. However, if you save the emperor's life, then the so-called identity is another matter." Luo Qingshun snorted softly. "Your crown prince is really thoughtful." However, this kind of thoughtful behavior was quite suitable for him. "Isn't our master doing this just to marry you and become the crown princess?" Chung Yi looked at her with a loyal expression and said, "I have never seen master pay so much attention to any woman other than you." Luo Qingshun said lightly as she got out of the carriage, "Because I am outstanding." Chung, even if he was beaten to death, he would never have thought that the crown prince would like this type of woman. Wasn't it good to be gentle and virtuous? Why would he like a proud and strong woman? I don't understand. Chung Yi shook his head and hurriedly went forward and said, "Miss, please rest in the side chamber. Master will be back soon." "Okay." Luo Qingqin nodded. "You may leave." "Yes, at the same time in the palace." King Jian looked at Jian Yuheng and smiled. Is this the reason why you haven't chosen a concubine? Yes. Jian Yuheng did not hesitate at all. He had always been like this. Once they set their eyes on something, they wouldn't let it go even if they died. King Jian stroked his beard and asked, when do you plan to get married? This son has already chosen an auspicious day and is only waiting for Imperial Father's imperial edict. Oh? When? Tomorrow. Ding, affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 60%. For some reason, at this moment, her appearance appeared in his mind, and his heart felt exceptionally warm. Chapter 3571. Eastern Palace Study. The teacup in Luo Qingchen's hand that was strangely filled with affection trembled. She looked around, but Jian Yuheng wasn't back. Then why did he increase her favorability for no reason? Cheng, she called out softly, and Cheng Yi walked in from the door. Miss, what are your orders? Cough, cough. Luo Qingchen took a sip of tea and said, when I came in, I saw that there were many red decorations prepared in the side hall. Yes. Cheng Yi said, that was prepared for Mrs. Marriage. Luo Qingchen heard this and looked up. Then let's use it. But Master has not returned. Cheng Yi was stunned. Logically speaking, Jian Yuheng should have obtained the Emperor's permission to be so extravagant. He had not returned from the Imperial Palace yet, so why did Luo Qingchen want to? Replying to Miss, Master has to wait for the Emperor's permission before he dares to decorate the Imperial Palace. Otherwise, he would be acting on his own initiative and would be charged with the crime of disrespect. If I say so, then so be it. Luo Qingchen took out a fan from her sleeve and waved it. The Emperor has already agreed. How did Miss know? I guessed. She waved her hand and did not say anything else. Although Cheng Yi was hesitant, he did not dare to offend this woman called Luo Qingchen. After all, she was very likely to be the future crown princess or even a future empress. Moreover, he always felt that her eyes had a special kind of intimidating feeling, as if everything was under her control. Yes. Cheng Yi bowed and said, this servant will do it now. 2 hours later, when Jian Yuheng returned to the Eastern Palace, he held an imperial edict in his hand, and his eyes were filled with unprecedented joy. Looking at the red lanterns hanging all over the courtyard, a look of surprise flashed across his deep eyes. Master, you're back. This is what Miss Luo told us to prepare. Cheng Yi replied honestly. She said that the Emperor has already agreed to the marriage between Master and her. She really said that? Yes. Cheng Yi said softly. Miss Luo said that she guessed it. Until now, Cheng Yi's heart was still in turmoil. It was as if there was a particular doubt in his heart that he had to resolve before he could be satisfied. Sure enough, the crown princess I chose is different from the rest. Jian Yuheng's lips curled into a faint smile, and he couldn't wait to walk into the inner chamber. Cheng Yi was slightly taken aback. While quickly catching up with Jian Yuheng's pace, he asked, so Miss Luo's guess is correct? The Emperor has already agreed to this prince's marriage with her? Yes. Jian Yuheng stopped and looked at Cheng Yi Dao with some doubt in his eyes. In the past, you wouldn't ask about these things. What happened today? This subordinate only feels that Miss Luo is especially amazing. Cheng Yi smiled foolishly as he rubbed the back of his head. Previously, I always felt that a commoner like her wasn't worthy of His Highness the Crown Prince. Now, it seems that Miss Luo is not only beautiful, her medical skills are good, and she even has the ability to predict the future. As he spoke, a look of admiration appeared on Cheng Yi's face. Jian Yuheng's cold eyes narrowed, and his entire body suddenly emitted waves of coldness. He looked at him and said, so now you mean that I'm not worthy of her? In the next second, Cheng Yi's expression changed, and he immediately knelt down. This subordinate doesn't dare. This subordinate is especially happy for His Highness the Crown Prince to bring home a beauty. Moreover, it was a surprisingly smart woman. My eyes have always been very good. Chapter 3572. Jian Yuheng was very clear that he would rather go without than have something substandard. He had even thought that if he never had a crown princess, it would be difficult for Jian Yuheng to pass the throne to him. but he was stubborn to death. Once he was certain of something, he would not change it. Therefore, even if he could not ascend the throne because he did not have a crown princess, he would never regret it. But it was different now. He already had someone he wanted to protect. Those who wanted to kill him and harm him, he would not condone them. Just like before, he knew that the second prince wanted his life, but because he was indeed the best candidate for the king, he was more lenient to him. But it was different now. He had a crown princess, so he did not need to give up the throne. He could protect the people he wanted to protect and do what he wanted to do. In the study, the air was filled with the faint smell of sandalwood. Luo Qingshun narrowed her eyes and said, "Your Highness, have you achieved your goal? Whether or not I have achieved my goal, Qingshun knows better than me." Jian Yuheng quickly stepped forward, his deep eyes faintly shining. "I wonder if you are ready to become my crown princess." "Your Highness." Luo Qingshun lowered her voice and said, "You really didn't ask about my identity before making such a big decision? What if I'm a bad person?" Jian Yuheng sat opposite her and poured himself a cup of tea. He took a sip and said, "So what is the bad person's goal?" Luo Qingshun was stunned. She did not expect Jian Yuheng to suddenly ask her such a question. What was the bad person's goal? Why do these words sound so weird? The bad person's goal is of course many, such as money, power, status, and Jian Yuheng showed a leisurely look and said lightly, "I can satisfy the bad person's desire." Luo Qingshun was stunned for a moment. She realized that she had overlooked something very important. For example, Jian Yuheng was a bigoted, two-faced master. In an instant, he suddenly leaned over and whispered into her ear, "The most precious thing in this world is the throne. Since ancient times, there has never been a woman who ascended to the throne in the Jian dynasty." Female throne? Luo Qingshun felt that she had fallen into Jian Yuheng's trap. Actually, she was just making an analogy. There was nothing special about it. Moreover, if Qingshun wants to ascend to the throne, there will definitely be many ministers who will stop her. Jian Yuheng gently raised his right hand and continued to bend down. He played with her fine black hair and said, "I can't bear to let them bully me. I didn't say I wanted the throne, but I want to." Jian Yuheng looked at her with a face as deep as water, so after thinking about it, I thought of the most perfect method. Without knowing why, when Luo Qingshun saw the faint smile on Jian Yuheng's lips, she actually felt a bit panicked. So after thinking about it, I finally found a way to have the best of both worlds. The next second, a faint desire flashed in his dark eyes. He looked at her and said, "Qingshun, let's have a child." Child. At this moment, Luo Qingshun instantly came to her senses. What kind of trap was Jian Yuheng silently setting for her? He was going to summon Yinan? "No, Your Highness, I think this decision is too." Before the word straightforward could be heard, Jian Yuheng sealed it with a kiss, not giving Luo Qingshun any chance to refute. Chapter 3573. After an unknown amount of time, Jian Yuheng extinguished the candle on the candlestick. He picked her up by the waist and walked into the inner room. The sandalwood scent in the air became stronger and stronger, making people feel sleepy. Jian Yuheng's movements were very gentle. Even in another realm, he made her half asleep and half awake, but she didn't wake up. It wasn't until the next morning that the maids in the Eastern Palace put on the wedding dress for her. Because the second prince didn't die that long ago, the palace was still in mourning, so Jian Yuheng's wedding shouldn't be too public. Actually, this was a good thing for Luo Qingshun. After all, if it was too public, it would be easy for the Mu Jia to find out about this, and her own plans would be exposed. Because of the second prince's funeral, there is no way to marry into the Eastern Palace. Jian Yuheng held her hand and gently said, "When there is a chance in the future, I will definitely give you a bigger wedding." Actually, Luo Qingshun felt that this wedding was already very grand, because Jian Yuheng didn't put the second prince's death in his eyes at all. He even went as far as 10 miles of red, all the way to the Eastern Palace. Luo Qingshun knew that this was a show of strength for the second prince. "I know that I don't care about this." Luo Qingshun raised her brows. "What I care about is that the crown prince really likes me." Ding! Affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 70%. That's right. She was here to cheat the affection. They were already married, but the affection wasn't full yet. She always felt unhappy in her heart. I just found out today. Jian Yuheng looked at her face, and his lips slightly curled as he said, Qing Chun looks this good. This was the first time she had put on a woman's clothes with this face that had been added to the foundation. Her skin was snow white as she looked at Li Guang. Luo Qingqian gave a soft laugh. The crown prince has a good eye. I've always had a good eye. Jian Yuheng confidently raised his brows. Otherwise, I wouldn't have waited for so many years. That's right. He had waited for her for so many years. After Jian Yuheng married the crown princess, the crown prince officially took over all matters in the palace. He did not restrict his crown princess's freedom during the day. So most of the time, she would still dress as a man and go to the medical center. Moreover, he had already moved his concubine Mother Qin Xiu and his younger brother Hao Yin to the Eastern Palace. Now, it would be harder for Mu Ning to find them. Therefore, she changed her plan and decided not to look for those two useless people. In fact, whether they lived or died was not important to her. If she was not afraid that Song Xiaoling would hate her, she would have wanted them to leave Mu clan as soon as possible. After all, looking at their faces reminded her of Luo Qingqian's ugly face. He was obviously so ugly, yet he still wanted to eat swan meat. He didn't have any self-awareness at all. November 2nd, Mu Ning-er's birthday. Every year, Mu Ning-er's birthday celebration would be extravagant. But this year, due to the sudden death of the second prince, the entire Mu family fell into an extremely awkward situation. Mu Ning-er's birthday was also hastily arranged. That night, she deliberately drank some wine and went to the pavilion that Song Xiaoling frequented the most. In the past, she didn't know why Song Xiaoling liked to go there. Later, she found out that she could see Luo Qingqian's room from there. She didn't know if there were feelings between them, but she couldn't wait any longer. Regardless of whether there were feelings between them in the past, after the night, she decided that she would not let Song Xiaoling have Luo Qingqian in his heart anymore. She changed her plan and planned to execute it immediately. Chapter 3574. Mu Jia's backyard. A bright moon hung in the sky. Peach blossoms fell gently, and the fragrance of wine filled the air. Mu Ning wore a light pink dress and sat among the peach blossoms. Her eyes glistened with tears as she drank cup after cup of wine. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, 4 steps. The familiar sound of footsteps slowly approached. Song Xiaoling crouched down and looked at her teary face. He frowned. How did you get yourself into this? Xiaoling. Mu Ning slowly raised her head. Her slender fingers gently brushed his handsome face. She smiled. The Mu Jia is no longer what it used to be. I'm afraid I can't protect you like before. Ning Song Xiaoling couldn't bear it. Don't worry. This isn't your fault. No matter what happens, I'll be here. I won't let you face it alone. I'm afraid I can't help you find Qingqian's aunt and brother. Mu Ning bit her lip. Her voice was full of grievance. If you don't believe me, then there's nothing I can do. Just let Qingqian report it to the authorities. Let them handle it. Song Xiaoling's brows furrowed tighter. After a while, he said, This isn't something a rich young lady like you should be concerned about. You've done a lot for Qingqian. At this moment, Song Xiaoling felt that Mu Ning was very beautiful. She was like a fairy from the heavens. With tears in her eyes, she was so beautiful that it made people's hearts tremble. Thinking about it, it's good that you didn't marry me. Mu Ning lowered her head. The corner of her mouth raised into a faint smile. She immediately retracted it. Otherwise, I would have dragged you down. I don't want to drag you down. Speaking of this, Mu Ning finally couldn't hold back her tears. Drop by drop, they fell into the snow and into Song Xiaoling's heart. Silly. In the next second, he couldn't hold back the throbbing in his heart. He pulled Mu Ning into his arms and said, I'll be by your side. I'll always be by your side. You didn't drag me down. I've always been the one dragging you down. Xiaoling. Mu Ning bit her lip and sobbed his arms. Will you really stay with me? A faint smile appeared at the corner of her mouth, and her heart was filled with satisfaction. Everything was going smoothly. She was happy, really happy. Song Xiaoling had her in his heart. At least, he had placed her in a position, and the timing was just right. Yes. Song Xiaoling hugged her tightly and whispered in her ear, "Let's get married." In the past, I always felt that I wasn't good enough for you. Although I still feel that I'm not good enough for you now. If this can give you warmth, I'm willing to do it. When Song Xiaoling hugged her, he felt that his shoulders were full of responsibility. At that moment, he had already thrown the words Luo Qing Chun to the back of his mind. The wine was fragrant, and the beauty was in his arms. Song Xiaoling lifted Mu Ning up by the waist and walked towards the inner room. His heart was beating very fast. After putting Mu Ning down, he wanted to turn and leave, but Mu Ning pulled on his sleeve. Xiaoling. Her eyebrows lightly trembled, her cheeks flushed red, and she looked at Song Xiaoling with a face full of drunken shyness. "Don't go. Stay with me tonight, okay? I'll be scared by myself." In the end, Song Xiaoling resisted Mu Ning's temptation and stayed. But then again, it wasn't Song Xiaoling's fault. Under the moonlight, with a drunk beauty, who would have such terrifying self-control? Hurry up and read the latest chapters. Chapter 3575. That night, Mu Ning teased Song Xiaoling a little, and Song Xiaoling couldn't help but take her. That night was the first night before they were officially married. Early the next morning, Grandpa Mu knew about it. Although he was angry, he remembered that the Mu family and the Song family had a marriage agreement, and that Song Xiaoling had been with the Mu family for a while. Although they had crossed the line this time, everything would be resolved once they were married. Many bad things had happened to the Mu family recently, and it was time for a good thing to wash away the bad. "Uncle, don't worry." Song Xiaoling bit his lip and said, "I will be responsible for Ning." Grandpa Mu's face was still very ugly, and his eyes were very cold. Mu Ning blinked and held her father's hand and said coquettishly, "Father, Xiaoling will be good to me. I believe in him." "You believe in him, but I don't believe in him." In fact, Grandpa Mu had already agreed to his daughter's marriage with Song Xiaoling. After all, his daughter had already had physical contact with him, and it was impossible for them to go against each other. However, he couldn't let Song Xiaoling feel at ease. He had given birth to his daughter, and as a father, he knew her thoughts better than anyone else. He really cared about the woman Song Xiaoling brought back from Tranquil City. That woman was very scheming, and she even brought her own aunt and brother. She always pretended to be weak to gain sympathy. A few days ago, he heard that her aunt and brother had gone missing. As Mu Ning's father, he deeply felt that the heavens had opened their eyes. This family finally had their retribution. "Uncle, please believe in me." Song Xiaoling held Mu Ning's hand and said, "I will take care of Ning for the rest of my life. No matter what happens, I will not leave her." "Father," Mu Ning smiled and said, "don't make it difficult for Xiaoling." All right. Grandpa Mu gently knocked his daughter's head and said, You're not even married yet, and you're already so loyal to your future husband?" "Father, all right. Grandpa Mu sighed and said, "I will ask the butler to find an auspicious day for you to get married soon." "Thank you, Father." "Thank you, Master Mu." After Papa Mu left, Mu Ning looked at Song Xiaoling and said, "Father used to think highly of you, but I know." Song Xiaoling gently patted the back of her hand and said, "If Uncle Mu didn't think highly of me, he wouldn't have taken me in. He wouldn't have wanted to marry you to me. It's my fault. I didn't see clearly what was most important to me. So, do you see it clearly now?" "Yes." Song Xiaoling nodded firmly. "It's you." "Xiaoling, Ning listen to me. You don't have to worry about the matter between Aunt Qingshun and your brother. Just get the housekeeper to report it to the authorities." Song Xiaoling gently patted her head and said, "You're just a little girl. Where can you find someone? Moreover, you're so beautiful. It'll be dangerous if you go out." "Xiaoling." Mu Ning bit her lips shyly. "Why are you teasing me? I'm just worried that you'll be too tired." Song Xiaoling said gently, "I've thought it through. You took her in out of kindness. She should be the one to look for the missing people in her family. From now on, I won't let you suffer anymore. Xiaoling, in the next second, Mu Ning jumped into his arms and said, You're so good to me. Hurry up and read the latest chapters. Chapter 3576. Mu Ning felt very warm. She knew she made the right bet. She didn't have to worry about Song Xiaoling leaving her because she had successfully captured his heart. Of course, there was still a hurdle in her heart. In her eyes, Luo Qingshun was ugly and lowly. She didn't have the right to enter Song Xiaoling's heart. But she also knew that at least for a moment, she had walked into his heart. Now that she was going to marry Song Xiaoling, that woman should disappear with her concubine brother. He family's clinic. Luo Qingshun was wearing a white robe. She was taking the pulse of a patient in the lobby. Hiao didn't believe her at first, but as she treated more and more patients, he was more and more amazed by her medical skills. Sometimes in the afternoon, he would find time to ask her for advice. Old he, you're never too old to learn. My daughter's body wasn't good when she was young, so I became a doctor. Hiao smiled. Now I think I made the right decision. Studying medicine is indeed the right decision. I only know a little about it, boss. Before Luo Qingshun and Hiao could finish their conversation, Chun Sheng rushed in. What's wrong? Luo Qingshun put down the herbs in her hand and said calmly, Why are you in such a hurry? Phew! Chun Sheng let out a long breath and calmed his breathing. That person told me to take you back. Huh? Luo Qingshun's eyebrows moved slightly. She rested her chin on her right hand and smiled. I've been here for a long time. I don't know how many 7 days I've been here. She doesn't want me to go back. This time, yes, it should be like this. Chun Sheng explained, but in the next second, Luo Qingshun interrupted Chun Sheng. But Mu Ning is going to marry Song Xiaoling. Chun Sheng was surprised. How did you know? Luo Qingshun picked up the folding fan beside her and waved it gently. Mu Ning is a very smart person, but her vengeful nature can easily make her less smart. Boss, what you said is a bit profound. Now that the second prince is dead, the Mu family's position in the court has also plummeted. It is now clear that if the crown prince ascends the throne, he will never put the Mu family in an important position. In addition, we have already started investigating the things that the Mu family has done for the second prince. But what does this have to do with their marriage? Of course, Luo Qingshun narrowed her eyes and smiled. Because they came to me. Although Mu Ning was smart, her trick of pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger had reached a certain level. She knew very well why she had come to look for her. An hour later at Mu Clan, Mu Ning had changed into a cherry red embroidered double butterfly pattern blouse with a golden hair ornament. Her exquisite makeup was especially eye-catching. Luo Qingshun went directly in men's clothes with the veil still on, giving the feeling that the world was just a speck of dust. Sister Qingshun, is that you? Mu Ning froze. Why are you wearing men's clothes? It's nothing. Luo Qingshun casually waved her fan. She said, I wonder if young Miss Mu brought me back because you found my concubine mother and little brother. Qingshun. Song Xiaoling heard this and stood up. I've already reported this matter to the authorities. Ning has been working hard for a long time to find them. She was kind enough to take us in. We shouldn't trouble her like this. Hurry up and read it. Chapter 3577. At this moment, a sinister smile appeared on Mu Ning-er's face. Her heart was particularly carefree. The feeling of Song Xiaoling standing by her side and speaking up for her was really too good. Song Xiaoling. Luo Qingshun's eyes flashed with a faint light. When did I take the initiative to ask Miss Mu to find my concubine and brother? You. Song Xiaoling's expression changed. How can you be so unreasonable? Ning I don't fight because of me. Mu Ning pretended to be reserved and mediated. I asked you to come back this time because I was worried about Sister Qingshun's condition. Secondly, I'm going to marry Xiaoling. Even at this time, Song Xiaoling's gaze still changed slightly. Mu Ning, who had been observing Luo Qingshun's face. She wanted to get pleasure from that face. She wanted to feel pleasure from her pain. But no, she didn't see any pain or sadness in Luo Qingshun's eyes at all. She was even indifferent to the extreme, as if Song Xiaoling wasn't important to her at all. Could it be he was pretending? That's good. Luo Qingqian's lips curved slightly. Her eyes were cold as she looked at Song Xiaoling. I've been in a medical hall for a long time and heard some gossip from the court. I heard that the court is reinvestigating the disaster relief funds from Lingnan 2 years ago. Muning, Er's expression changed slightly when she heard this. Even her gaze turned cold. These days, her father had been busy with the disaster relief funds from Lingnan. He had lost a lot of weight. The Mu family did this for the second prince. They took a lot of the relief funds, but almost none of them were sent to the victims of Lingnan. Now that the second prince was dead, it wouldn't be so easy for the Mu family to clean up this matter. But this kind of thing was only known to the insiders of the court. How could Luo Qingqian know? Qingqian, what are you trying to say? Song Xiaoling didn't know why, but at this moment, he was panicking. He and Luo Qingqian had known each other for so many years, but he had never seen her like this. Whether it was his expression or his tone, it was filled with indifference and alienation. Muning, Er's face grew paler and paler. She was a smart person and naturally understood what Luo Qingqian meant. However, like Song Xiaoling, she also felt that Luo Qingqian was a little scary at this moment. It was as if they had never really known her. Miss Mu should know very well what I want to say. Luo Qingqian flicked her sleeves and narrowed her cold eyes. If it's true that you pocketed the disaster relief funds and caused the deaths of tens of thousands of people in Lingnan, it's a crime of deceiving the emperor. You exterminate all 9 generations of his family. At this moment, Song Xiaoling's heart skipped a beat, and his legs unconsciously went soft. Right now, he was about to marry Mu Ning. If they were a family, what if the Mu family were to be found guilty, he would also be implicated? Now, he was the only child left in the Song clan. What was he going to do? Mu Ning was smart enough to see the change in Song Xiaoling's eyes. In fact, she had always known about this matter, but the matter was still under investigation. She was a little worried that if she really told Song Xiaoling, he wouldn't like her. Would he even be afraid that she would be implicated? She had been worried about this matter for the past 2 days. Originally, she wanted to find an opportunity to beat around the bush with Song Xiaoling. But this woman called Luo Qingqian actually said everything in this kind of situation, leaving no room for negotiation. Chapter 3578. At this moment, Mu Ning felt a knife stabbing into her heart. Why? Why do I have this terrible feeling of fear? Why? Song Xiaoling's expression didn't look good, but he had to hold on. There were so many people around. If he walked away, wouldn't they think he was a coward? Qingqian. Song Xiaoling took a deep breath. I know about this, but no matter what, I will stay by Ning Er's side. Luo Qingqian could tell from Song Xiaoling's expression that he was suppressing his emotions to lie. Interesting, this pair is quite interesting. In fact, she didn't have to do anything. Song Xiaoling and Mu Ning could go down the road because of their own problems. When did I say I won't stay by his side? Luo Qingqian shrugged. Song Xiaoling, we've known each other for almost 10 years. As a friend, I just did my duty as a reminder. As for what you want to do, it's your own business. Qingqian, don't be an alarmist here. Mu Ning's eyes were cold. Even if my Mu family raised a dog, it would still wag its tail and beg for mercy. Unlike some people who are worse than pigs and dogs. Since Luo Qingqian spoke first, Mu Ning directly fell out with her. In the next second, the servants and maids began to criticize her. Miss Mu is right. This Luo Qingqian is really a heartless thing. Yes, Miss Mu was kind enough to take us in, give her concubine the best care, and pay for her brother's education. But in the end, she was bitten in the back. What a despicable person. You're all right. Luo Qingqian cleared her throat. Do you really think that if 9 generations are implicated, the people in the residence won't be buried with them? We, and Mu Ning why did my concubine and brother disappear? Luo Qingqian raised an eyebrow. You know very well. Ning Auntie Chun and Hao Yin, don't slander me. Mu Ning bit her lip. It has nothing to do with me. If you say it has nothing to do with you, then it has nothing to do with you. Luo Qingqian gently waved her fan and said, in any case, he's already a dying man. Why should I make things difficult for him? Once she finished speaking, Luo Qingshun put on a strange smile and turned around to leave Mu Clan. She knew very well that her goal for coming to Mu Clan today was to gain public opinion. As it turned out, she had succeeded. Mu Clan sank into an unprecedented fear and danger. The servants and maids, who had previously stood on Mu Ning-er's side, went back to discuss and decided to leave the Mu family together. After all, if it was really the crime of deceiving the monarch, they, as servants, could only be buried with him. 5 days later, Mu Clan became very quiet. The emperor's order for the investigation hasn't come down yet. Except for a few older servants, everyone has already left. Mu Ning-er and Song Shaoling's wedding was just around the corner, but there wasn't even anyone to prepare for it. The entire residence was cold and cheerless. It didn't look like there was going to be a wedding. Papa Mu hadn't returned home for 3 days. He was indeed involved in the Lingnan incident, but he wasn't the mastermind. The crime was a big deal, and it was just a sentence from the emperor. However, the emperor was recuperating these days. Everything was handed over to the crown prince, Jian Yuan. It seems that the world is about to change. Chapter 3579. Mu Manor. Ning-er. Papa Mu's side. I was supposed to prepare the dowry and the wedding, but something happened to our family, and I know, Father, I know. Mu Ning-er raised her hands and grabbed Song Shaoling's arm. Our wedding doesn't need to be grand. Those things aren't important to me. Song Shaoling was stunned. His right hand trembled. He was panicking. At least Luo Qingshun was by his side. No matter what happened, they could discuss it. But now, if the Mu family was really sentenced to death, wouldn't he die for nothing? But under such circumstances, Mu Ning still wanted to marry him. Wasn't she sending him to his death? Good. You're really my good daughter. Papa Mu was so touched that his eyes turned red. Don't worry. Although I used to work for the second prince, I've never done anything bad to him except for the incident at Lingnan. Then, the incident in Lingnan. Song Shaoling couldn't help but ask, will it really affect the Mu family? Why? Are you scared? From Papa Mu's perspective, he was disappointed in Song Shaoling. He admired him from the beginning to the end. Papa Mu was always very good at judging his son-in-law. From Papa Mu's perspective, he didn't treat Mu Ning wholeheartedly. He only treated her because of her beauty and the status of the Mu family. But now, the Mu family's status was in danger. He didn't know what he would do. No, uncle. Song Shaoling took a deep breath. I know you had high hopes for me before, but you gradually misunderstood me. Now that the Mu family is in such a big crisis, I naturally have to stand up. Are you sure? Father, Mu Ning stood up. I believe in Shaoling. He's really good to me. Mu Ning was a smart person. How could she not see the fear in Song Shaoling's heart? It was just that she wanted to cover up her inner feelings at all costs. In her eyes, the person to blame was not Song Shaoling, but Luo Qingshun. If it wasn't for Luo Qingshun's words that day, the Mu Jia's servants wouldn't have run away so quickly, and their wedding wouldn't have been delayed because there was no one to prepare for it. If it wasn't for him, she might have already married Song Shaoling. Papa Mu's side. Although all we can do now is wait. I know very well that there is only one person who can save the Mu family. Mu Ning paused for a moment before asking, Father, are you talking about the crown prince? Yes. Papa Mu nodded. Maybe I shouldn't call him the crown prince. I should call him the future king of Jian Kingdom. When the second prince was still around, he might have been able to compete with Jian Yuan. But now that the second prince was dead, there was no prince in the court who could compete with Jian Yuan. This time, the crown prince was also handling the review of Lingnan. Therefore, the life and death of the Mu family is almost tied to the crown prince. Father, do you want us to go to the Eastern Palace and beg the crown prince? Mu Ning frowned. But under these circumstances, will the crown prince see us? Logically speaking, he won't. Papa Mu shook his head. But the day after tomorrow is the crown princess's birthday. The crown prince invited all the children of the court officials to attend. It's a banquet for the young people. The old housekeeper has received the invitation. He treats everyone equally and invites everyone to the banquet. Chapter 3580. Understand. Mu Ning rolled her eyes. Father, You want me to take this opportunity to ask the crown prince to let go of the Mu family. Even if you don't ask in person, you can still bring gifts to the crown princess. Let the crown prince and the crown princess remember you. Although the Lingnan Disaster Relief Fund is a big deal, it's been many years. Now that the second prince is dead, it's only a matter of a few words to deal with this matter. Okay, I'll go. Mu Ning nodded. Father, trust me. I've always been good at networking, haven't I? I can definitely change the current situation of the Mu family. Besides, in the next second, she looked at Song Xiaoling and continued. Xiaoling also has a lot of unfulfilled ambitions. This time, you can go to the Eastern Palace and recommend yourself to the Crown Prince. Maybe everything will turn around for the better. Song Xiaoling heard this and immediately said, Uncle, don't worry. I will find a way to help the Mu family. In fact, he's still afraid. But Mu Ning is right. This time, the Crown Prince will definitely invite all the important people in the court. In addition, the Crown Prince Jian Yuheng is very likely to become the next King Jian. This is an opportunity for him, an unprecedented opportunity. He must take advantage of this opportunity to get the Crown Prince's attention. In the future, he'll have more opportunities to fulfill his ambitions. As for whether he wants to help the Mu family, he has to consider it carefully. After all, he hasn't married Mu Ning yet. He's not a Mu family member yet. Moreover, this old man called Mu Guang is prejudiced against him. He's always treated him like a sacrificial lamb. Because of what? Because he's no longer the young master of the Song family. He has no power, no status, so he's always looked down upon by others. This time, it's his only chance. At the same time, in the Crown Prince's Eastern Palace, Luo Qingchun was leaning on the soft couch and drinking tea while flipping through the invitation to the birthday banquet. On the invitation, the name of the Minister of Rights, Mu Guang. It's impossible for Jian Yuheng to not know about her and the Mu family. He's such a black-bellied person. How could he be so kind as to invite them to the banquet? It shouldn't be. What shouldn't be? Unknowingly, Jian Yuheng had already walked into her room. His eyes were indifferent as he looked at her with a faint smile. What are you talking to yourself about? I was wondering. Luo Qingchun looked at him meaningfully. Why did you invite Mu Ning? There are so many invitations from the ministers of the court. Why did he only remember the daughter of the assistant minister of the Ministry of Rights? Luo Qingchun rested her chin on her left hand and narrowed her eyes. Judging from the look in His Highness' eyes, he must have been thinking about this plan for a long time. Yes, Jian Yuheng did not deny it at all. With a deep glimmer in his deep eyes, he said, How can I let go of the person who bullied my wife? What do you want? Luo Qingchun bit her lips. Is it because of the incident in Lingnan? Father has given me full authority to deal with it. Jian Yuheng raised his right hand and gently touched her hair. Do you want to do it yourself, or do you want me to do it for you? Instantly, Luo Qingchun's eyes lit up with excitement as she said, Such an exciting matter. Of course I want to do it myself. Ding, affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 80%. Her faint smile was like a spring breeze that could blow into his heart at any moment. Chapter 3581. But can I sit in? Luo Qingchun shook her head and thought for a while. Then I don't think so. I think there might be a slight change in my influence in the eyes of others. Only a little? There will be earth-shaking changes. So your highness shouldn't come. That depends on Qingchun's performance tonight. He picked her up by the waist and blew out the candles on the table and walked towards the inner room. 2 days later, it's Luo Qingchun's birthday banquet. All the people who received the invitation came to the Eastern Palace with expensive gifts. After all, in today's Jian dynasty, everyone is very clear about who they should curry favor with and who they should follow. This time, Jian Wang went to the mountain resort to rest, leaving all the matters in the court to Jian Yuheng. He has become the object of everyone's flattery, and the Mu Jia is no exception. Mu Ning is wearing a purple dress with 1,000 colors of plum blossoms. Her long black hair is tied up in a bun. She is elegant and imposing. Song Xiaoling is standing next to her, wearing a white robe. Both of them have something on their minds, so there's almost no communication along the way. Mu Ning knows that she likes Song Xiaoling, but she's also a very smart woman. She knows that Song Xiaoling has his own talent, but in today's situation, it is too late for him to work hard. She is very clear about the current situation of the Mu Jia. If she wants to restore the Mu Jia's former position in the court, there is only one way. Marry the crown prince. Although the crown prince already has a wife, he will definitely need other concubines. She knows that she has a beauty that can cause the downfall of the city. As long as she works hard, the crown prince will definitely take a fancy to her. But Song Xiaoling is the man she finally got. She is a little reluctant to part with him. How can I make Song Xiaoling love me and become the crown prince's favorite concubine? This is what Mu Ning is thinking all the way to the Eastern Palace. And for the first time, Song Xiaoling has a tacit understanding with her. They are actually thinking about the same thing. Right now, he was dependent on the Mu clan, so he had no choice but to listen to Mu Guang. However, in the eyes of the crown prince, the Mu family was like a malignant tumor. They were already enemies, so how could he accept their flattery? Therefore, in order to achieve his ambitions, he must not mention anything about the Mu family at the crown princess birthday banquet. In fact, he couldn't even plead for the Mu family. This way, perhaps the crown prince would think that he was someone who placed righteousness above family and had ambition in his heart. In addition, the people who had come to attend the crown prince consort's birthday banquet today were all juniors of influential people in court. Among them, there was no lack of young misses who were 16 years old and had yet to be married. Back when he was in Peace City, he had mesmerized a group of people. Now, if a woman from an important official in the imperial court took a fancy to him, perhaps his fate would be different. But in Mu Ning-er's eyes, he was an ungrateful person. But when he thought about it, he was an ungrateful person. When the Song family was destroyed in Ning City, it was Luo Qingshun who saved him. But things have changed with the passage of time. He even abandoned her, not to mention others. This time, entering the crown prince's eastern palace was the only chance for Song Xiaoling to have a meteoric rise in his life. He absolutely had to hold on to it no matter what. Even if he was regarded as an ungrateful villain, he couldn't miss this opportunity. Chapter 3582. Eastern Palace Main Hall. She was wearing a bright red brocade robe embroidered with flowers and butterflies. Her long black hair was combed into a hibiscus cloud bun, and there was a silver 4-butterfly hairpin on the top of her head. She looked exceptionally noble. Empress is so beautiful. Mo was stunned as her eyes flickered with Liguang. Mo was her maid and usually didn't speak much. She had been in the Eastern Palace for many years and knew what could be said and what could not be said. As a servant, she knew better than anyone what kind of person Jianyuan was. The crown princess he had chosen was the only person he loved in his life. Therefore, Mo was usually cold, and everyone in the Eastern Palace feared her. However, she was respectful to Luo Qingshun and did not dare to slack off in the slightest. Even so, she would not flatter her casually. The most important thing for a master and servant was to have a heart-to-heart. What she said was also from the bottom of her heart. Does Mo really think so? Luo Qingshun was quite satisfied with this maid. She did not like maids who talked too much. Although talking more was sometimes cute, most of the time it would make people feel annoyed. And with a person like Mo serving by his side, he would feel very comfortable. This servant really thinks so. Mo lowered her eyes and said, "This servant is not very good at talking." Just now, Empress Beauty probably shocked this servant, and I couldn't help but say it. This was the truth. She looked at her own face in the mirror and felt a little dazed at some point. Such a heaven-defying appearance would only appear in special planes. And this was an ordinary plane. She had used a base point to transform an ordinary plane. Naturally, it was amazing. Then if someone in this world says I'm ugly, what do you think I should do? Luo Qingshun's lips curled up slightly as a faint light flashed in her eyes. After a while, Mo said coldly, "Then let that person know the price to pay for saying that Empress is ugly." Hearing this, Luo Qingshun's eyes flickered. She picked up the veil on the table and waved the folding fan in her hand. "Then let's meet those people who say I'm ugly." In the banquet hall, The air was filled with the faint fragrance of wine and peach blossoms. Appreciating the graceful dance while tasting the fine wine was one of the great joys of life. When Luo Qingchen arrived, almost everyone was already there, including Mu Ning, and Song Xiaoling. The moment their eyes met, Mu Ning-er's face paled. Song Xiaoling, who was sitting beside her, widened his eyes. She unconsciously blurted out, Qingchun, impossible. Mu Ning-er immediately interrupted him. How is that possible? What is this place? What is her identity? How could she be qualified to come here? That's impossible. Song Xiaoling took a deep breath, his fingertips trembling uncontrollably. But that pair of eyes that were as clear as water, was clearly hers. Although Mu Ning said it was impossible, her gaze never left the girl in the red robe. Her eyes were so cold as she walked in step by step from the main hall. No one blocked her path. If she really was Luo Qingchun, what was she doing here? It seemed that the most likely thing was to ruin their plans. Could it be that she wanted to expose the Mu family's disaster relief funds to the Crown Prince? Chapter 3583. Mu Ning could feel the panic in her heart. It was as if her heart was beating uncontrollably. Envy. She had to do something. No, she had to do something. After the dance ended, Mu Ning slowly stood up. She took a deep breath and walked in front of Luo Qingchun. Miss, you look very familiar. Have we met before? Luo Qingchun's cold eyes narrowed. Under the veil, her lips curved into a faint smile. Mu Ning, the stupidest decision you've made in your life is standing in front of me and blocking my path. In an instant, Luo Qingchun waved her fan. Her cold eyes made Mu Ning tremble. You're Luo Qingchun? At this moment, Mu Ning-er's face was extremely pale. She took a step back, her eyes wide open. Everyone present who was invited to the banquet forgot to come over. Luo Qingchun's expression was indifferent. She looked straight into Mu Ning-er's eyes without the slightest hint of evading. Perhaps it was because she didn't evade her gaze that made Mu Ning-er nervous. No, she couldn't be nervous. This was the Crown Prince's Eastern Palace. She knew better than anyone what kind of person Luo Qingchun was. She definitely didn't follow the rules here. It definitely didn't make sense. Why aren't you saying anything? Mu Ning took a deep breath to calm herself down. Are you feeling guilty? Luo Qingchun still didn't speak. She was about to walk around her when she was grabbed by her sleeve. Guards, I know this person. Today is the Crown Princess's birthday banquet. She must be up to no good by coming into the Eastern Palace in disguise. Mu Ning narrowed her eyes. Maybe she's an assassin who wants to kill the Crown Prince. Song Xiaoling panicked. He immediately got up and grabbed Mu Ning-er's wrist. Don't say any more. Although the woman in front of him was wearing luxurious clothes and a white veil, he could still recognize her at a glance. It's her. It must be her. For the sake of His Highness the Crown Prince's safety, the Mu family asks you to remove your veil. Mu Ning-er's words were aggressive and her eyes were cold. Are you sure? Her voice that was as cold as water slowly rang out again, and it carried a hint of provocation. It's really you. Mu Ning-er's eyes widened. She raised her right hand and tried to take off her veil, but her left hand caught her wrist firmly. You want to take off my veil? Let's see if you have the qualifications to do so. Luo Qingchun sneered and pushed her away with her left hand. Mu Ning stumbled back 2 steps, but she managed to stabilize herself and didn't fall down. She knew that she could not fall at this moment. In the next second, she lifted her right hand and removed her veil. Under the dim light of the night and the bright moonlight, a beautiful face that could cause the downfall of a nation was revealed. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. The rustling sound was endless, and it slowly entered her ears. This girl is so beautiful. I've never seen such a beautiful woman. Which family's daughter is she? Why haven't I seen her before? Her clothes are so luxurious. She's probably the daughter of an important official. Today's banquet was attended by the children of important figures in the court. Thus, no one knew that she was the crown princess other than those from the Eastern Palace. Chapter 3584. Your face. your face. How could this be? Muning, Er's mind was completely blank right now. She wanted to think, but she found that she didn't have time to think at all. Everything happened too fast, so fast that she didn't even have time to think. Luo Qingshun was already standing in front of her like this. Her face, how could this be her face? It wasn't that her face had become ugly because of the birth monster. Even if she didn't have the birth monster, her face would still be rough and yellow. It wouldn't look like this at all. Why, just what had happened? Qingshun, you... At this moment, a strange light flashed in Song Xiaoling's eyes. There were many strange memories that popped up in his mind. These memories filled his brain and made his head hurt like it was about to split open. But his heart was filled with throbbing. He had known her for several years. Once upon a time, she had been his servant. No matter what, she had always silently followed behind him. However, she was so inconspicuous that sometimes people would even call her an ugly girl. He knew that she wasn't that beautiful, but he couldn't help wanting to care for her and love her. It was as if he had once regarded her as the most beloved in his heart. But one day, he had suddenly changed. And now she had also changed. From an ugly girl, she had become so beautiful, a beauty that made one's heart tremble. What do you two want to talk about? Luo Qingshun waved the fan in her hand as the system's voice rang in her mind. Ding! Affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 90%. A certain person really was hiding in an unknown place to watch. What are you doing here? Muning tightly knit her brows and said, Do you know what kind of place this is? It's not a place where someone of your status can come and go as you please. Although Muning, Er's words were strong, her heart was filled with panic. She wasn't a fool. No one had stopped Luo Qingshun when she came in from the main hall, which meant that there were two possibilities. Either that, like them, she had been invited here, or she was someone from the Eastern Palace. However, Muning knew very well what kind of person Luo Qingshun was. She was Song Xiaoling's errand boy when she was in Ning City. How could she have any relationship with the people in the imperial court? Furthermore, it was impossible for her to be from the Eastern Palace. If she could come and seek refuge with the Crown Prince, why did she have to stay in a Mu clan instead of the Eastern Palace after Ning City was flooded? Therefore, no matter how you analyze it, the 2 points above are not valid. Then, the most likely possibility was that she had disguised herself as someone who had snuck in and wanted to do something unspeakable. I want to hear it. Luo Qingshun walked forward as she said, What kind of identity does my identity have? The next second, Your Highness. Li, who was standing on the platform, said, His Highness the Crown Prince is currently handling an important matter. Your Highness, please take a seat first. Yes. Luo Qingshun nodded and turned to look at Muning. What's wrong? Did he suddenly become mute? Can't speak? You. Muning stood there, her body trembling. She said, You many times, but she couldn't say a single word. Luo Qingshun looked at her pale as snow, without a trace of color, and said, Muning, do you know whose birthday banquet you are attending tonight? Chapter 3585. No. In an instant, she screamed, It can't be you, it can't be you. You pretended to be my concubine. I know exactly what you want to do. Impossible, absolutely impossible. How could Luo Qingshun be her? She's the only crown princess in the Eastern Palace. She's going to be the queen in the future. What kind of status she has, she knows it better than anyone. What qualifications does this kind of person have to enter the royal family? She must be pretending to be the crown princess. She must be. So what do I want to do? Luo Qingshun's right hand rested on her cheek. Her eyes flashed with a very faint smile. I don't even know what I want to do, but you know. You just want to use your identity as the crown princess to suppress my mujia. How can I not see that? Muning shouted crazily, I know. You're jealous of me because Xiaoling likes me, right? Qingshun. At this moment, Song Xiaoling's heart was incomparably tangled and anxious. He wanted to say something, but found that he has no qualifications to say anything. No matter who she is now, it has nothing to do with him. Xiaoling, don't talk. Muning said anxiously. Luo Qingshun, I ask you, are you jealous of me? That's why you want to tell His Highness the Crown Prince about my Mujia's unwarranted crimes? Because you can't get Shaoling, you want to destroy the Mujia. Hiss. The seated guests once again took a breath of cold air. Probably because the atmosphere is too tense, the hall that originally had some discussions has become extraordinarily quiet. It seems that even a needle falling to the ground can be heard clearly. Oh, I'm jealous of you. What do you have? Just when Luo Qingshun wanted to talk back, Jian Yuheng's cold voice interrupted her. What is she jealous of you for? Beauty or husband? Jian Yuheng's words were like needles pricking her body. You're not as good as her in these two aspects. The moment Luo Qingshun turned her eyes, she just happened to meet his slightly narrowed eyes. This kind of eyes had the momentum of a king, but also a little bit of possessiveness. About the matter between her and Song Shaoling, he only needed to investigate a little to find out. From Ning City to the capital, they supported each other all the way. They were each other's only. This kind of investigation result, he felt particularly uncomfortable in his heart, but Mu Ning gave him this opportunity. Mu Ning immediately kneeled. Your Highness, this Luo Qingshun was originally my Mu's maidservant. She entered Eastern Palace. She is my crown princess. Jian Yu's words. He's a sore. Could be said he cut all her to destroy Mu's. To be the bee's princess, bee's tea, be the prince's princess prince. But TB to bee's TB to be the princess to be princess can't. Mu Ning felt her legs go soft. She didn't even have the strength to stand up. Song Shaoling also stood there in a daze. His thoughts seemed to have drifted away, leaving only his body. Qingshun, are you married? Song Shaoling took a deep breath and swallowed his saliva. You retestes princess. Is there something wrong? Jian Yuheng says, need to explain anything to you? Chapter 3586. Song Shaoling froze for a moment, his eyes filled with disbelief. How could this be? He had known her since he was young. How could she be the crown princess? Moreover, the most important thing was her face. She's not Luo Qingshun. Mu Ning roared and pointed at her. She can't be Luo Qingshun. Luo Qingshun doesn't look like this. Your Highness, don't be fooled by her. How could she look like this? She was so ugly. She was so ugly. If I'm not Luo Qingshun, then I have nothing to do with you. She raised her eyes and smiled. Why are you so agitated? I guards. Jian Yuheng's cold eyes narrowed. Murderous intent flashed through his eyes. Take Mu Ning away and put her in the prison. Your Highness. Mu Ning fell to her knees. Please believe me. She didn't look like this. I've seen her original appearance. She's so ugly. She doesn't deserve to be the crown princess. Slap. In the next second, a crisp slap landed on Mu Ning's face. She fell to the ground and glared at Luo Qingshun with eyes filled with hatred. Whether I'm qualified to be the crown princess or not is not something you can discuss. Luo Qingshun narrowed her cold eyes and raised her chin with her fan. I'm very clear on the hatred in your heart, but you can't win in this lifetime. Ugh, you. Mu Ning gritted her teeth and made a painful sound. At this moment, it was as if a sharp knife had pierced her chest. No one knew how she felt, because she had always looked down on everything with a superior attitude, including Luo Qing. She had trampled her under her feet. Everything about her was part of her plan. Or more accurately, she thought everything was part of her plan, but it wasn't. She worked so hard and prepared so well, but things didn't go as she wished. Mu Jia suddenly plummeted, and she became the favored crown princess. Why? Take her away. As soon as she finished speaking, she sneered and turned to look at Song Shaoling. There were too many complicated emotions in his eyes. Surprise, panic, doubt, and reluctance. But these emotions were laughable to Luo Qingshun. Song Shaoling, he never changed. Whether it was in the original owner's world or this world, he didn't change. Yes, Song Shaoling may not be bad, but he was cowardly, incomparably cowardly. There were too many things he wanted, but he couldn't have them both. Under such circumstances, he would do things that went against common sense and even hurt the people around him. Jian Yuheng took her hand, with a touch of gentleness in his eyes, and led her step by step to sit on the high seat. She raised the corner of her mouth. Didn't you say that you would only watch and not appear? I feel like I'm at a disadvantage if I don't see such a satisfying scene. Jian Yuheng answered honestly. You think you're at a disadvantage? I thought someone didn't want to see me talk to Song Shaoling and couldn't help but show up. Ahem. In the next second, Jian Yuheng cleared his throat and said seriously, Your Highness the Crown Princess is right. Why is my Crown Princess talking to him? Luo Qingshun couldn't help but chuckle. Sure enough, it's about me. Crown Prince, you did a thorough investigation. Chapter 3587. It's because of this investigation that I have to have them attend this birthday banquet. Jian Yuheng revealed a black-bellied expression. They bullied you, so I'll take it back for you. Thank you, Jian Yuheng. She narrowed her eyes and revealed a faint smile. Her heart was filled with joy. She didn't know when she had become someone's treasure, someone who doted on her. She only knew that when he said that he wouldn't let anyone bully the Crown Princess, her eyes couldn't help turning red. It was moved, it was warm, it was the impulse to spend a lifetime with him. Ding affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 100%. Midnight. Luo Qingshen was half leaning on the couch as Jian Yuheng's guard, Li Li, came to deliver the news. He heard that Mu Guang was already kneeling in front of the Eastern Palace. Actually, he should be kneeling in front of King Jian in front of the heart-nurturing palace. But King Jian went to the mountain villa for a vacation and didn't return to the palace at all. Now all the big and small matters of the Jian dynasty were handed over to Jian Yuheng. He also knew that it was impossible for Jian Yuheng to let Mu Ninger go, but he could only do this. Your Highness, the Minister of Rites is still kneeling outside. How should we deal with him? Jian Yuheng leisurely sipped his tea. You have to ask the Crown Princess how to deal with this. She'll tell us how to deal with it. Luo Qingshun gave a soft laugh and waved her fan. Let him go back. I'll send his daughter back tomorrow morning and make sure he doesn't hurt his body. Yes, Li Li said. This subordinate will send the message now. Jian Yuheng was stunned for a bit before he said after a while, will do as the concubine says. After Li Li left, he took her into his embrace and asked with a deep voice, You want to let Mu Ninger go? It's a bit hard to believe. If I don't let her go, can you kill her? Luo Qingshun raised her brows with a smile. Although Mu Guang participated in the Lingnan disaster relief, he wasn't the one in charge. The reason why you haven't made a move on the Mu family and only spread the news is mostly because of me. Luo Qingshun. His eyes were faint and his mouth carried a faint smile. He looked deeply at her and said, You are so smart. What should I do? So, we can lock Mu Ninger up, but we can't kill her. Luo Qingshun touched her ears to ease her nervousness. Although she and Jian Yuheng were already very familiar with each other, his occasional overbearing behavior still made her a little shy. But I don't think Qingshun will let her off so easily. Your Highness knows me well. In the next second, Jian Yuheng's face darkened, and he hugged her even more tightly. With a dignified expression, he said, Call me husband. Luo Qingshun suddenly understood. My dear husband. What I mean is that sometimes the only way to truly make someone despair is not to let them die. Qingshun means, but to let her know that she has never succeeded from the beginning to the end. Luo Qingshun took a sip of tea and smiled gently. I want to go to the Ministry of Justice's prison. Alone? Alone. You don't need me to accompany you? Luo Qingshun bit her lip and smiled. I still want to leave a good impression in my dear husband's heart. Not an impression of scheming. Chapter 3588. The Ministry of Justice's prison. Mu Ning had been locked up here for 3 whole hours. The air was filled with the stench of blood. It was normal. After all, this was a prison. There were countless people who committed suicide or torture. Over time, this smell was formed. Who are you? The guards outside the door stopped her. She took out a token and everyone knelt down. Greetings, Crown Princess. Take me to see Mu Ning. Yes, Your Highness. Please follow me. Mu Ning was locked up in the cell closest to the inside. Probably because the Mu family had already paid, there was no one on either side of her. When she heard the sound of footsteps, she excitedly rushed forward. But when she saw Luo Qingshun, her eyes dimmed. Luo Qingshun took out a silver ingot and handed it to the jailer. "Don't let anyone disturb us. I'll leave after saying a few words." "Yes, Your Highness." After the jailer left, Luo Qingshun took out her usual folding fan and gently waved it. She looked at her with a condescending smile. "What? It seems you're very disappointed. The person you want to see isn't me. What do you want to say?" Mu Ning gritted her teeth and glared at her. "So, who do you want to see you? Your father or Song Shaoling?" "Luo Qingshun, you didn't win." Mu Ning slammed her hands on the cell door. "If you have something to say, come at me. Don't make things difficult for my father. It's freezing cold." Luo Qingshun wrapped her coat tightly around her body. "Your father has been kneeling in front of the Eastern Palace for 3 hours. You." Mu Ning's hands clenched the wooden bars of the cell. She was furious. "Why are you bullying an old man? If you have the ability, aren't I bullying you right now?" Luo Qingshun shrugged. "It doesn't feel good to be a prisoner." "Yes, yes." Mu Ning took a deep breath and forced herself to calm down. After a few seconds, she faintly opened her mouth. "I am indeed a prisoner, but how good are you? Let me tell you, Luo Qingshun, I didn't take your mother and brother away. I'm afraid I'm not the only one who hates you. I'm not the only one who wants to deal with you." "I know," Luo Qingshun sneered. "I know everything you've done. You put poison in my concubine mother's food, and you let her study a Haotian private school on the surface, but you actually wanted others to bully her." Luo Qingshun narrowed her eyes and said with a cold smile, "You think I don't know about this? Impossible." Mu Ning, who had just calmed down, heard Luo Qingshun's words and lost control again. She did everything so carefully that no one could possibly know about it. Of course, a normal person wouldn't know. Luo Qingshun curled her lips into a smile. "But I am not a normal person. Who are you? Who are you?" "You're not Luo Qingshun. Her face isn't like this. Her personality isn't like this." Mu Ning, was incoherent. She shook her head and retreated. "Could it be that your mother and brother?" The always smart Mu Ning seems to have finally understood. Luo Qingshun shrugged and sneered. "Of course I was the one who took my mother and brother away. They're in the Eastern Palace. Didn't you see them just now?" Luo Qingshun. Mu Ning's mind was in chaos. If Chun Xiao and Hao Tian were taken away by Luo Qingshun, then she had been acting all along. Chapter 3589. She was putting on a big show. "It's useless to call my name." Luo Qingshun's cold eyes moved slightly. "I'm Luo Qingshun, not Luo Qingshun. So, Mu Ning, you have no chance of winning against me. I came here tonight to tell you everything. Oh no, to be more precise, to let you guess it yourself. Only then will you know how stupid you, who always thought of yourself as noble and virtuous, is." Silence, silence, silence. Mu Ning's eyes were dull, as if she hadn't recovered from Luo Qingshun's words at all. After a while, she said to herself with a trembling voice, "If Chun Xiao and Hao Tian were taken away by you, then it proves that Chun Sheng, tisk, tisk." Luo Qingshun clapped her hands lightly. "You finally figured it out. Your Chun Sheng was exposed on the first day in my clinic. What do you think he can do? With your intelligence, you can expose Qin Sheng?" Mu Ning shook her head desperately. She couldn't calm down. She didn't believe it. How could she believe it? Luo Qingshun, who was played in the palm of her hand when she was in the Mu clan. Luo Qingshun, who didn't suspect a thing when her concubine ate poisoned food for 3 or 4 months. Luo Qingshun, who didn't suspect a thing when her brother was sent to a private school to be abused. How could it be? How could she expose Chun Sheng? My intelligence? Luo Qingshun laughed coldly. She looked at Mu Ning and said, "What kind of intelligence do you think I have? If you, Mu Ning are smarter than me, then our position should be swapped right now." I just made a mistake." "No." Luo Qingshun laughed coldly. "You're stupid, because you think having Song Shaoling is the end of this dispute. But in fact, Song Shaoling who is like a treasure in your eyes, is nothing to me. Nothing, nothing. You're lying. Mu Ning smiled disdainfully. You don't need me to tell you how you feel about Xiaoling. Even if she died, she would not believe that Luo Qingchun had never admired Song Xiaoling. Because it was impossible. Why should I like Song Xiaoling? Luo Qingchun sneered. Do you think the crown prince is not as good as Song Xiaoling? Mu Ning tried to defend herself. His Highness only likes your face. You can fool everyone, but you can't fool me. Your face is fake. No, it's real. Luo Qingchun gently raised her right hand and touched her own face, because there's a type of medicine that can make one beautiful enough to cause the downfall of countries and cities. It can also give one the most precious thing in the world, be it money, reputation, or status. What? What medicine is it? Mu Ning, do you think I'll tell you? Luo Qingchun stared at her face. I see a lot of wrinkles on your face. Nonsense. Mu Ning held her face with both hands and shook her head in panic. Impossible, impossible. I'm very beautiful. I'm very beautiful. Luo Qingchun narrowed her eyes and ignored her. She turned and left the prison cell. After leaving the Ministry of Justice's prison, she was about to return to the Eastern Palace. She didn't expect to be stopped halfway. This person looked familiar. I am Yuan King Xiao. Greetings, Your Highness. What's going on, Your Highness? Luo Qingchun's eyes flashed with confusion, but she couldn't show it on her face. She could only ask, what is the meaning of this? Your Highness, please give this subordinate a quarter of an hour to tell you the whole story. Chapter 3590. Wang Xiao was sent by the Yuan Kingdom to look for the princess. There was nothing about the Yuan Kingdom in the original owner's memory. Therefore, she was very confused about the Yuan Kingdom. Fortunately, Wang Xiao explained in detail. Wang Xiao told a very long story. Luo Qingchun summarized it a little. The Yuan Kingdom used to be the same as the Jian Kingdom, but because the previous empress, her mother, eloped with a person of no status, they never returned. The princess of the Yuan Kingdom had two marks. One was the phoenix tail flower on her body, and the other was a jade pendant. Luo Qingchun knew about the jade pendant. Her concubine told her that her mother had left it for her. Finally, the phoenix tail flower. She only knew that it was the birthmark of the Yuan Kingdom's princess when Wang Xiao mentioned it. It had to be said that the Yuan Kingdom's genes were very strong. So what do you want me to do? Luo Qingchun crossed her arms and said coldly, return to the Yuan Kingdom to be the empress. Princess must go back with this subordinate. Wang Xiao knelt down and said, the Yuan Kingdom can't do without an empress. This subordinate made it very clear to Your Highness. It is because the Emperor's star has not returned that the Yuan Kingdom's fortune is not as good as before. But according to what you said, the Yuan Kingdom wanted to kill my father and force my mother to elope with him. That's why I've been wandering outside for so many years. Luo Qingchun narrowed her eyes and said, why do you think that the Yuan Kingdom is related to me? Why do you think that I should help you? This is what a normal person thinks. Luo Qingchun looked at him and said, it's not impossible for me to go back, but I don't like it when you say that it is my responsibility. Moreover, I am now the crown princess of the Jian Kingdom. My status is a bit awkward. Princess is right, all right, I know about this matter. Luo Qingchun looked at the moonlight and waved her fan. 3 days later, I will go back to the Yuan Kingdom with you. Have someone I can talk to tell me what I need to do. Yes, princess. And Luo Qingchun waved her folding fan, and a cold light flashed in her eyes. I forbid you to hurt the crown prince of the Jian dynasty. Otherwise, don't even think about fulfilling all your demands. I understand. At that time, it was the second prince. I won't pursue the past. Luo Qingchun waved her hand and said, we'll talk about it in 3 days. When he returned to the Eastern Palace, Jian Yuheng was still awake. She told him about Yuan Kingdom very seriously. Jian Yuheng, who had always been calm, was surprised for the first time when he heard that she was the princess of Yuan Kingdom. Actually, I'm not sure either. Luo Qingchun glanced at the jade pendant and said, but since Wang Xiao can find me, it proves that I'm not far from the truth. I have promised her to go back and have a look. No, Jian Yuheng decisively refused and looked at her. I won't let you go back. Why? Luo Qinshan explained. I'll be back in a few days. Yuan Kingdom has been thinking about finding their empress all these years. Jian Yuheng closed his eyes and revealed a proud expression. What if they don't let you come back? They don't dare. Luo Qinshan chuckled. They don't have the ability to trap me. But Jian Yuheng frowned with some worry. Previously, they joined forces with the second prince to get rid of me. Could this be a trap? I'm still worried. Chapter 3591. For a long time, Jian Yuheng was an overbearing, arrogant, and black-bellied existence in her heart. This was the first time she saw a rare gentleness in his eyes. It was no wonder that he was worried. After all, Yuan was quite a distance away from the Jian country. She was going alone, so it was normal for him to be worried. Don't worry. Luo Qinshan gently leaned into his arms. I never do things that I'm not sure of. If I think it's dangerous, I won't go. Besides, this is indeed my identity. I'll go with you. Jian Yuheng looked at her and said, I'll tell father to come back from the mountain villa. I'll go with you 3 days later. TSK, TSK, TSK. Luo Qinshan heard this and looked at him with a teasing expression. How can the crown prince be bewitched by a woman? This is a chance given by the king. If I'm not wrong, when the king comes back from the mountain villa, he should be crowned as the king. But we can't make any mistakes at this time. After a long time, Jian Yuheng finally compromised. He looked at her and said, I'll let Lily follow you. Be careful. Okay. The next morning, Mu Guang took his daughter away from the Ministry of Justice's prison. When Mu Ning was taken away, she was in a trance. It was as if she had received a great shock. She kept muttering things that no one could understand. Ninger, what's wrong with you? Mu Guang gritted his teeth and glared at the Ministry of Justice's prison. Then he looked at Mu Ning and said, We'll never come to this place again. Father will definitely return the bullies 10 times over. For a long time, he had a trump card in his heart. Mu Ning, mother was a woman in the Yuan Kingdom's royal family. Although she could only be considered a distant relative, Yuan Kingdom had always respected women. Even a distant relative was enough to have a certain amount of power. Now, he heard that the princess of Yuan Kingdom had been found. If he brought the entire Mu family and all the forces he had to Yuan Kingdom, he might have a chance to confront Jiangua. Father, is there really a way? Perhaps because the person closest to her was beside her, Mu Ning-er's expression changed a little. Yes, let's get in the car first. Father will tell you slowly. Mu Guang told Mu Ning everything about the Yuan Kingdom. Mu Ning-er's face lit up with joy. She really didn't want to stay here any longer. She didn't want to stay here any longer. If she could reach the Yuan Kingdom, she would personally raise the Jian dynasty to the ground to make up for the humiliation she had suffered in front of Luo Qinshan today. Father, let's act as soon as possible. Mu Ning narrowed her eyes and said, I heard that the second prince had dealings with the Yuan Kingdom, but he ended up like this. Father, we must be careful this time. We can't stay in the Jian country any longer. Mu Guang lowered his voice and said, Father already wanted it on the way here. Since they don't want it, we're being disloyal. Yes, Father. Ning will listen to Father. After all, Mu Ning was still a smart person. Even though she was infuriated by Luo Qinshan in the Ministry of Justice's prison, at least her father told her that there was still a way out. As long as there was a way out, she would not be considered to have lost. She still had a chance to make a comeback. She met such a powerful opponent. Although she was angry, she also felt excited. Every dog has its day. She would win once. As long as she won once, Luo Qinshan wouldn't even have the chance to stand up. Chapter 3592. 3 days later, Luo Qinshan set off for Yuan Kingdom. Wang Qiu and Noisy kept praising Yuan Kingdom along the way. Their Highness was so handsome and confident, and His Highness was so powerful. Hey, Luo Qinshan couldn't help but ask, Don't tell me it's His Highness. What nonsense are you talking about? Wang Qiu explained anxiously. I'm just here to tell the princess that His Highness is even better than that Jian something hung. If he's so good, why doesn't he have a concubine? Luo Qinshan shrugged. Didn't you say that he hasn't married yet? That's because His Highness is a divinator. He can predict his marriage and his past life. Wang Qiu thought for a moment. His Highness always says that his marriage hasn't come yet. Divinator. Luo Qingxun suddenly remembered that when she was a divinator, she could indeed predict a lot of things. Yes. Wang Qiu continued to praise. In short, His Highness is a very, very good person. Yes. His Highness is the best in the world. Luo Qingxun sneered and stopped talking to Wang Qiu. She felt that this person kept talking about His Highness. He was really holding His Highness in the palm of his hand. Yuan Kingdom was a certain distance away from Jian Dynasty. When Luo Qingxun arrived, it was already 3 days later. Yuan Kingdom was very beautiful. It was a country piled up with flowers and plants. The most common thing here was maple leaves. The red maple leaves on the ground were too beautiful to behold. Princess, His Highness is already waiting for you in the main hall. And Luo Qingxun glanced at Wang Qiu. Wang Qiu had already stopped walking. Princess can go in by yourself. This subordinate will watch from outside. Luo Qingxun gently frowned and walked into the hall. Yuan Kingdom's main hall was made of crystal. Standing on the crystal, one could feel the coldness of the ground. The man standing on the high platform stood with his hands behind his back. He was wearing a white and gold robe, giving off an elegant and luxurious feeling. Her Highness Shimu? He's finally here. Shimu slowly turned around and gazed at her with a profound light in his eyes. Luo Qingxun's entire body froze. Even her heart was beating wildly, uncontrollably. His appearance was exactly the same as Feng Wuji of the Phoenix clan. Luo Qingxun. Shimu called out her name word by word with a gentle light in her eyes. She felt like she had transmigrated 1,000 years ago. That silver phoenix, that Feng Wuji who had the silver phoenix Guqin and had dispersed half of his cultivation for her. Why were they so alike? He wasn't Big Brother Jiu Sheng. How was this possible? Your Highness Shimu, there's no need to look at me like that. Luo Qingxun looked away and tried to recover her usual demeanor. Your Highness is finally back. It's time to take over Yuan Kingdom. I can also have a good rest. Shimu looked at her with a faint smile. Wang Qiu told me about this matter. Luo Qingxun gently fanned the fan in her hand. I feel that Your Highness Shimu has governed Yuan Kingdom very well. You don't need me at all. Yuan Kingdom's strength is declining day by day. I used half my life to make it last until now, until it appeared. Shimu slowly walked down the steps and stood in front of her. He raised his right hand to push her messy hair behind her ear as he said, I don't have much time left. Chapter 3593. I will die in less than 3 months. Shimu looked at her. If I don't ascend to the throne, Yuan Kingdom will disappear from this world forever. Why? This is a calamity. Shimu narrowed his eyes and looked deeply at her. Princess, you must be tired from your long journey. Rest well tonight, and you still have time to think. Don't be in a hurry to give me an answer. Perhaps it was because Shimu's appearance was too similar to that of Feng Wuji, which made her feel a bit dazed. It was as if he would turn into a large silver phoenix at any moment. It was as if he was still the person who accompanied her in the Demon Shadow Palace. I understand. Luo Qingxun took a deep breath and nodded. I will go back and think about it. As soon as she finished speaking, she turned around and walked 2 steps before stopping. In the next second, she turned around and looked at Shimu. Can a Destiny Master see her past and present life? She vaguely remembered that when she was a divinator, she could see her past and present lives from the constellations. Shimu should be able to do it too, he nodded and said, sure. So was your previous life. Your previous life. Luo Qingxun paused before saying, what was your name? A divinator can't tell anyone about their past and present lives. Shimu looked at her and smiled. It's possible that if I tell you now, you won't even wait 3 months and will take over Yuan Kingdom tomorrow. Luo Qingxun was slightly frightened and quickly said, Don't say it. I have another question to ask. Please speak, princess. If I become the empress of Yuan Kingdom, can I still be the crown princess of Jian Kingdom? Shimu looked at her for a long time. You can, but you can't be the empress. Otherwise, not only Yuan Kingdom, even Jian Kingdom will be in danger of being destroyed. Shimu's words were very mysterious, but she believed him. But Jian Yuheng becoming the Jian King was already set in stone, and it was impossible for Yuan Kingdom to not have an empress. This matter was indeed troublesome. She originally wanted to discuss it with Jian Yuheng. However, he was too far away and could only think on his own. The pros and cons involved the entire country. She really had to think about it carefully. After Luo Qingshun left the hall, Shimu stared at her back for a long time and a daze. After a long time, he said, I've spent thousands of years just to come here and take a look. It's great to be here. At the same time, everyone in Mu clan headed to Yuan Kingdom through the water and mountain paths. Because they didn't dare to take the pipeline, not only was the journey long, it was also very difficult to walk. Along the way, Mu Ning's health was not good. She dreamed of Lu Qingshun almost every day. She was like a nightmare that kept appearing in her dreams and couldn't be erased. Taozi saw that her complexion was not good, so she lowered the water bottle for her and said, Miss, hold on a little longer. We will reach Yuan Kingdom in 2 days. I heard that the Yuan Kingdom and the Jian Kingdom are enemies. If we join them, we can get our revenge. Mu Ning drank 2 mouthfuls of water and took a deep breath. When I see the princess, I will definitely think of a way to make her send troops to attack Jian Kingdom. Since Jian Yuheng was so heartless and listened to Luo Qingshun's words and treated them like this, then don't blame them for joining the enemy. When they meet again, they will be enemies on the battlefield. Chapter 3594. When Mu Ning arrived at Yuan Kingdom, it was already late at night. They found a good inn to stay in, while Mu Guang sent people to look for Wang Xiao. He stated his identity and status, as well as his purpose in coming here. He also brought along a map of Jian Kingdom's defenses in the southeast. Mu Guang had held an important position in the court for so many years, so he had some things in his hands. Even if the second prince was dead, as long as he had this map, he would be treated like a fish in water in Yuan Kingdom. Wang Qiao understands Mr. Mu's words. Mr. Mu, please stay in the inn for now. I'll go and explain to Her Highness. All right. Mu Guang nodded with a smile. Then I'll have to trouble Mr. Wang. Extreme Moon Hall. This was the bedroom where Shimu usually lived. He stood by the window and calculated with his fingers. A faint smile flashed through his eyes. What is Your Highness smiling about? Wang Qiao didn't understand. Is that Mu Guang really useful? Yes, useful. Shimu raised his cold eyes, and the smile in his eyes deepened. But, Wang Qiao asked in confusion, but even if we don't have the map, as long as Your Highness succeeds in taking over Yuan Kingdom, we can still attack Jian Kingdom. He was very confident in Yuan Kingdom's strength. If Jian Kingdom was still ruled by the old and weak King Jian, they had no chance of winning against Yuan Kingdom. When did I say they were useful because of the map? Shimu leaned against the window. The faint moonlight shone on his almost flawless face, giving him a heroic aura. This subordinate is slow-witted. If Your Highness didn't need the map, why would you take them in? Wang Qiao frowned and asked in confusion. People who can betray their country once can betray it a second time. Wang Qiao didn't like people like Mu Guang, let alone Shimu, who clearly hated him. Because Your Highness can play with them. Shimu raised his eyes. Let them enter the palace tomorrow. Princess. Wang Qiao wanted to ask more, but he stopped himself and said resentfully, This subordinate understands. You can leave. Shimu stood with his hand behind his back and continued to look at the bright moonlight outside the window. He couldn't hide the smile on his face. The next morning, Luo Qingshun woke up early and went to Extreme Moon Hall to look for Shimu. After thinking about it for a whole night, she figured it out. Since she had such an identity when she had just arrived in this plane, it meant that some things could not be avoided. She didn't like to hesitate. Becoming the Empress of Yuan Kingdom wasn't a problem, because as long as Shimu didn't die, he would be able to help her govern the kingdom. As for the conflict between Queen Jian and Queen Jian, he would discuss it with Shimu later and see if there was any other way to resolve it. However, The only way she could think of to prevent Shimu from dying was to go to Mount Yueqing again and look for Baiamo. She had an ability that ordinary people did not have. She could eat things like the sorreless flower. After all, she did not think that there was anything in this world that could make her forget the past. How could she forget the past that was filled with endless sweetness and pain just like that? There were guards standing outside the UG Hall, but none of them stopped her. It was as if she had only been in the Imperial Palace for a day, but she was already the master of the Yuan Kingdom. Shimu. Luo Qingqian walked into the hall and looked around. She didn't see Shimu's figure. Just as she was about to enter the room, Shimu patted her shoulder. "What are you looking for? Do you need my help?" Chapter 3595. Perhaps it was because the surroundings were too quiet, but even Shimu's gentle pat on her shoulder gave her a fright. "You're so scared that your face turned pale." Shimu caressed her head with a gentle expression. Luo Qingqian smiled helplessly. "Of course I'm here to find you. I've decided to ascend to the position of Yuan Empress." "Yes." Shimu nodded. There wasn't the slightest hint of surprise in his eyes. It was as if he had already seen through Luo Qingqian's decision. "That's it. This is a very wise decision." Shimu smiled. "I know you're someone who would make such a decision." Luo Qingqian frowned. It didn't feel good to be seen through all of a sudden. "You're really smart." Luo Qingqian's mouth twitched. "But I have a condition." "Speak." "I want to bring you to Yueqing Mountain." Shimu was stunned for a moment. A faint light flickered in his eyes. It was obvious that he knew where that place was. "It seems like you know." Luo Qingqian looked at him. "You can't die in 3 months. That's my condition." He didn't know if it was because her tone was too firm or because her eyes were too familiar. At this moment, Shimu felt his eyes turn red. There was an indescribable feeling in his heart. Baiamo isn't the kind of person who will save just anyone. Shimu's brows moved slightly as she chuckled. "I know her better than you. I know she has conditions." Luo Qingqian said without hesitation. "Don't worry, I think I can do it." Wasn't it just eating flowers? It wasn't much to her. "Okay, I promise you." Shimu looked at her and said, "But before that, you have to worship the heavens and become the empress." Okay, the worship ceremony in Yuan Kingdom was different from other places. It was held at night. Flames soared into the sky. When something similar to a cutlass was placed on her head, the ceremony officially ended. Shimu looked at her from not far away. Li Guang's eyes flickered. Lili walked up from the side and touched Shimu's shoulder. He cleared his throat and said, "Our crown prince consort already has His Highness the Crown Prince. Don't think too much." Lili was someone that Jian Yuheng had placed by her side to protect her safety. They were both men, and he could clearly feel that there was something wrong with the way His Highness looked at their crown princess. This was definitely not the expression that two people who had only known each other for 2 days should have. "Don't worry." Shimu revealed a cold smile. "She will never belong to me. No matter if it was 1,000 years ago or 1,000 years later. She belonged to that person. No matter how many reincarnations she went through, she would always belong to him." Lili didn't understand Shimu's words, but he felt that since he had said so, he wouldn't ask anymore. After Luo Qingqian became the Empress of Yuan Kingdom, Wang Xiu brought everyone from the Mu family into the palace, according to Shimu's suspicions. But only Mu Guang and Mu Ning were brought in. Mu Ning was very excited along the way. Her excitement even infected Mu Guang, and the two of them couldn't control themselves and started chatting. "Father, I heard that His Highness of Yuan Kingdom is extremely handsome. Do you think he will be attracted by my beauty?" Ever since Mu Ning had gotten Song Shaoling, lost him, and entered the Ministry of Justice's prison, her temperament had changed. She wasn't as calm as before. With hatred in her heart, she started to do things for quick success. She only hoped that she could make Luo Qingqian feel despair in the shortest amount of time, no matter what price she had to pay. Chapter 3596. Ninger, no matter how handsome His Highness is, Yuan Kingdom isn't his. Mu Guang frowned. "We should still curry favor with Her Highness." "That's not a problem." Mu Ning smiled evilly. "But if I can make His Highness fall in love with me and become friends with Her Highness, then my status in Yuan Kingdom will be completely different. This way, she would have more power to make Yuan Kingdom attack Jian country. Ninger, Mu Guang looked at her eyes and felt a chill run down his spine. He knew that his daughter's mentality had changed, but he didn't expect it to change so much. In the past, Mu Ning would think twice before doing anything and never did anything she wasn't confident in. But now, her mind seemed to have gone completely crazy. Father, what's wrong? What do you want to say, Ning? Mu Ning looked at Mu Guang, her round eyes wide. Ahem. Mu Guang paused and cleared his throat. Father thinks that after we enter the palace, we should think twice before doing anything. After all, this is Yuan Kingdom. No, little did he know that before Mu Guang could finish, Mu Ninger interrupted him. Her expression became even more ferocious and excited. In the next second, she took a deep breath and looked at Mu Guang. Father, it's useless. What thinking twice, what planning, it's all useless. Father, you mean? Back then, Second Prince wasn't dead yet. Father still had power in the court, and I thought twice before doing anything, and considered everything thoroughly. Mu Ninger almost screamed, but what happened in the end? In the end, he was still led by the nose by the other party, and he still lost completely. Mu Guang was silent, because what Mu Ning said wasn't unreasonable. So, Father, this time, let's not hesitate anymore. Mu Ning excitedly grabbed Mu Guang's hand. We'll do whatever we want. God is fair. This time, luck will fall on me. At this moment, Mu Ning felt especially excited, as if she was about to succeed. Master Mu, Miss Mu, we're here, Wang Qiu said. We can't use the carriage for the rest of the journey. All right. After walking for about 15 minutes, they arrived at the Extreme Moon Hall. After Wang Qiu led them into the hall, he received Shimu's gaze. He nodded slightly and walked out, heading to the side hall to look for Luo Qingchen. At this time, Luo Qingchen was in the side hall, planning when to go to Yuqing Mountain. She had already told Li Li to go back and inform Jian Yuheng about this matter, so that he wouldn't worry if she didn't go back for too long. After a long while, Wang Qiu said from outside the hall, Di Zun, His Highness invites you to the Moon Pole Hall. She didn't like the name Di Zun very much. In comparison, she preferred to be called Princess. She felt that the two words Di Zun had aged her by 30 years. However, Wang Qiu said that the Empress of the Yuan Kingdom was called Di Zun. This was the title that the Yuan Kingdom's people used to call the Empress. Ahem, it's already so late. What does he want me to do? His Highness said that Di Zun will know when he arrives at the door. Wang Qiu said respectfully. His Highness also said that this will be a good show. Chapter 3597. At the same time, Yueji Hall. Shimu was sitting on a high seat, drinking tea while waiting for the Mu father and daughter to arrive. After a while, Wang Qiu reported, summon Mu Guang and Mu Ning into the hall. Mu Guang and Mu Ning, greet your highness. Shimu nodded faintly and put down the teacup. Have a seat. Thank you, your highness. Mu Ning, pursed her lips and a faint smile appeared on her face. Yuan Kingdom's His Highness was indeed as handsome as the rumors said. His face was like jade, and his every movement carried the innate aura of a monarch. I heard that you brought a military map of Jian country. Shimu paused. Is that so? Yes. Mu Ning, rushed to answer Shimu's question before Mu Guang could. She added, Ninger has always heard that Yuan Kingdom's monarch is not only talented, but also brave and skilled in battle. Seeing you today has really opened Ninger's eyes. Mu Guang frowned slightly. He felt that it was inappropriate to say such words at this moment. But since Mu Ning had already said it, he couldn't say anything. He could only smile awkwardly. Your Highness, please don't take offense. My daughter has always admired your Highness. That's why she was so rude in front of you. Mu Ninger's eyes trembled. Seeing her father's expression, she bit her lips. Ninger was rude. It's fine. Shimu flicked her sleeve, and a cold light flashed in her eyes. It's just that Yuan Kingdom is currently ruled by the ancestor. I'm afraid it's inappropriate for you to say such things to this His Highness. Yes. Mu Ninger rolled her eyes, and hurriedly said, "A few years ago, Ninger also heard that Yuan Kingdom revered the Empress as their leader. For a woman to be able to make Yuan Kingdom so prosperous and powerful, that's something ordinary people can't do." Although Muning was anxious, she was very clear that this His Highness and the Empress of Yuan Kingdom were the most important people for her to make a comeback. If she couldn't do it, she could get others to do it for her. As long as she was powerful enough and knew how to win people's hearts, she could make use of others to accomplish things that she couldn't. "So you think that the Empress of our Yuan Kingdom is very powerful?" Shimu took a sip of tea with an unfathomable light in her eyes. "Of course." Muning took a deep breath and said, "Ninger has always admired the Empress of Yuan Kingdom since I was young. Ninger feels that the main reason why Yuan Kingdom is so strong is because the Empress is incomparably powerful." Shimu smiled faintly. That's quite reasonable. In fact, he had already figured out the background of the two people in front of him, as well as the things they had done to him in Jian country. Since they delivered themselves to his doorstep this time, they couldn't blame him for being ruthless. Some ruthlessness was even worse than death. Therefore, Ninger and the Mu family didn't come to Yuan Kingdom to escape from anything. Instead, they sincerely want to rely on Yuan Kingdom and the Empress. Muning bit her lips lightly. "Perhaps some people think that we're committing treason, but isn't it also the case that our country has betrayed us and we're just retaliating?" "This His Highness understands what you mean. So you want to see our ancestor?" Shimu glanced at the door and knew that Luo Qingshun had been standing outside for a long time. She had probably heard everything that she needed to hear.